with a lethal combination of pitching, power, and aggression rarely seen in the big leagues. The next step in the Astros' evolution, beat one of the league's best hitting teams and a Cy Young Award winner in their own ballpark. It's a playoff-style showdown in the Motor City next. From Detroit's Comerica Park, Root Sports brings you Houston Astros baseball afternoon style. The Stros own the best record in the American League, with the Tigers close behind, as Houston and Detroit hook it up with Scott Feldman and David Price hitting the hill. Hi, everybody. Alan Ashby and Jeff Blum back together as we get this road trip started this afternoon. The Astros, Blummer, I think got it going under your tutelage. Game 2 of that series against the Giants, getting kind of the winning thing going once again, and they played well.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me some of that credit.
Oh, it's all yours.
Yeah, being on that homestand where the numbers are a little bit different than they are on the road, but it was good to see them pick up that 4-game sweep against Toronto and hopefully bringing some of that success on the road.
So one of the things the Astros continue to do is play great baseball with the long ball, and that's really been the key to the offense.
And I think it's kind of fitting being here in Detroit where Rob Deere and Mickey Templeton hit a lot of home runs and had that low batting average. That's what the Astros are doing. They're doing a good job of getting guys on base via the walk, and once they get on there, they sit back and lean on that 3-run jack and leading the league in home runs, lowest in batting average, but it's paying off because the pitching's keeping them in ball games.
Of course, one thing you're not going to do is come into Detroit, face the Tigers, and be the only club that swings the bats well. The Tigers are among the leaders in numerous categories, and they're going to score their runs.
Yeah, kind of the tale of two ballparks and the tale of two clubs, too. The Tigers are a team that goes out there and hits the ball pretty well. You see leading MLB in batting average and on-base percentage. That's what these guys do. They work counts, they get on base, knowing they're not going to drive it out of Comerica Park as often as they'd like to. But those guys that they have in this ballpark are based on speed, too, which I like to see, because they're going to get on base, cover some ground in the outfield. You give a lot of credit to Wally Joyner, too, instilling these guys with the confidence to go out there and hit the ball.
Coming up, the Astros aren't just getting it done with the long ball, but they'll need a little extra going on to beat one of baseball's best pitchers. Julia Morales joins us to talk about the approach that could help the Astros pay the price of winning when we return.
4-game series between these two. And the Astros are feeling good coming off this recent homestand, going 7-2 on a 9-game homestand, capping it off with a 6-1 win over the A's yesterday to get the series win. A.J. Hinch saying that he sees so much confidence in his club offensively. He knows if they just hang in there, they can get it done. And we saw damage late yesterday. Our AT&T Rewind, we look back at what the Astros did in the 6th. Starting with George Springer, who gets on base. This is a 6th. Game tied at 1, but he sets things up for Mr. Evan Gattis, who launched his 7th home run in 23 games. He's really starting to come around a bit, and that was a moonshot. That put the Astros on top 3-1. But the Astros did not stop there. They were battling with their at-bats, and in the 8th here, Houston broke the game open a little bit with Oakland's bullpen on the mound with 3 runs, setting up Valbuena there, and then Springer with a broken bat blooper. Hey, he'll take the knocks where you can get him right. Sac fly by Colby Rasmus, and then Carter coming through. Late inning action, like I said, and Hinch has seen a big difference with this club lately. He said they've been pushing guys to key in on what they do well and what pitches they hit well. They're really starting to understand that taking some borderline balls and strikes can actually be to your advantage if you can't handle a particular pitch. And I want to bring Jeff Blum in on this. Is this club looking for better pitches to hit with this kind of approach?
Well, I think they should be. But that's the thing. These guys are going to launch home runs, so they may change their approach to look for a pitch they can drive out of the ballpark. Might be one of the things they're doing. But they do take some borderline pitches. You don't want to see these guys chasing too much out of the zone because they're not afraid to take those walks. The more guys you get on base and you finally get that pitch you're looking for, you better be able to barrel it up. And luckily these guys have been able to do it sometimes, driving in some big runs with those home runs.
Yeah, and if I may dance on the wild side just a little bit in that same conversation, I hate to see guys in the heart of the order start taking pitches where they've got men in scoring position where they might be able to be aggressive and drive some runs in. So it's always a delicate balance, but one of those balances you have to be able to be successful with. And the Astros, bottom line, have been successful, Blummer.
Yeah, they have. The pitching has held down some of these other ball clubs, allowed them to sit back and wait till later in the game to get those big home runs to win ball games. But what Julia's saying is if they're looking for that pitch, the one thing I want to emphasize is do not miss that pitch when you get it.
Well, that's the truth, especially that fastball that finds a good part of the plate. Well, as we get set for Game 1 here, today's Astros starting lineup is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. For A.J. Hinch, Jose Altuve in the top spot. He's at second base, followed by third baseman Luis Valbuena and George Springer in right field. The middle 3 in the order, Evan Gattis, big hero yesterday. He's the DH. At first base, Chris Carter. In left field, Colby Rasmus. And the bottom 3, Jonathan Villar. Short, Hank Conger is the catcher this afternoon. And in center, Jake Marisnick.
On the mound for the Detroit Tigers is going to be David Price. Going to see some of his stuff. He's got a great fastball. He's actually been pitching pretty well with it this year. He's thrown it 10% more this season. And I think a lot of that reason is because he's got a good four-seam fastball in that low to mid-90s range. But the strikeouts are way up this season on that fastball. Maybe pitching a little bit backwards with some of his good off-speed pitches. Has a changeup, a little bit of a slider. Should be an interesting matchup. He's given up 6 home runs already this year in 53 innings pitched. And the Astros hit fastballs pretty well.
David Price, a former Cy Young Award winner. That was 2012 with Tampa Bay. He was 20-5 that season and had a league-leading ERA at 2.56. He will come at the hitters, and the Astros bats will be challenged here this afternoon. So again, a tough assignment for Game 1, and flying in last night, day game today. Everybody up early and getting on the buses and over to the ballpark. The Astros were unable to get any batting practice in on the field today, and that was really a surprise that caught the team off guard.
Yeah. Early in seasons, you go out there and take a lot of BP, but these guys have been swinging well. But I agree with you, Ash, as far as the batting practice is kind of questionable for me, too, yeah, when you travel in and you have a day game immediately out of the chute.
Altuve with a 1-1 count now as he starts things on the afternoon. Third baseman Castellanos drawn in. Cabrera on the right side as well. That Venezuelan connection very strong here in this series with Altuve and Cabrera, and both admiring each other's games. 2-1 the count. Altuve, with the struggles here in recent games, hitting .310. A lot of guys would love to be there. Jose not too happy about things at the moment. Trying to break out as he fouls it back. 2-2 the count. The other part of the game, though, for Altuve this year, 5 home runs already. So, you know, if you pace things out, and Brownie and I were talking about this yesterday, You're talking about 20 home run pace for Altuve, quarter of the season right now. And then you look at a number of the guys on the Astros. They've got some terrific paces going. Pitch hit in the air, left center field. Anthony Gose can really fly in center. He just glides to that point to make the catch. One up, one down here in the first.
Gose making it look easy out there in center field. Let's take a look at who's playing alongside him. Yoenis Cespedes in left field. Rajai Davis in right field. Across the infield, you're going to see Castellanos at third base. Andrew Romine at short. Ian Kinsler at second base. Miguel Cabrera at first. And James McCann doing the catching with David Price.
Luis Valbuena will stand in. And Valbuena, another one of those guys. 10 home runs already, and pretty easy to figure what that would pace out at. Now, if he gets 25, 30 home runs this year, you would think fabulous year. He pops it up, shallow in center field. Coming in, just loping in Gose. He's made 2 catches. That's 2 outs here in the first inning.
Some free swinging at the top of this Astros lineup after we talk about him being a little more nitpicky these days.
Well, with David Price on the hill, is that a part of that, where you figure he's going to throw strikes? He comes early in the count with fastball, see if you can get him there.
Yeah, I think that is the approach. If you get a fastball in the zone, attack it, because, you know, if you get behind in the count, he's a high strikeout guy. I believe 3 seasons, 200 plus strikeouts on his career. So if you get a good one to hit early, let that dog eat.
Price now in his 2nd season with these Detroit Tigers. There are some of the home run numbers we were talking about. And again, Valbuena had 10 already. Evan Gattis launched 1, as did Colby Rasmus. Chris Carter at 7 right now. And it's felt like he really hasn't had any heat going with the bat at all.
Well, you assumed Valbuena would be leading that list.
Yeah, exactly. Is that the way you felt coming out of spring training?
How incredible is that? He's got to be the hardest hitting 210 guy I know.
Look, we all talked about the Astros making some deals in the offseason to bring in more power. Evan Gattis was one of the guys we really talked about. And, of course, you match him up with the guy who hit 37 home runs last year, Chris Carter, and George Springer, and all of his abilities. And you figure, boy, you really got something. And then there's Valbuena.
Sneaky pop he has.
George Springer in that 3 spot, has a 2-1 count. Has been drawing, has been talked about a lot. A number of walks here early on in the year. Has a 2-2 count now. Are you surprised at all, Jeff, in watching George Springer and what you hope is the maturation process, the number of fastballs that he is still swinging through?
Well, the first thing for me is his talent is on par with some of the great hitters in this game, and I think it might be a little unfair because we put so much on George's shoulders, because we've seen that he can carry a big league ball club when he's going well. But there has been that issue. It's a good take right here on a fastball away.
Or is it? With a 2-2, you're going to get rung up sometimes, no question about it. But the more you walk, the more you start to take those pitches. And maybe the reputation is developing for George. And he takes strike 3. So caught looking after taking a couple of close ones, a 1-2-3 first with a strikeout for David Price as the Tigers come up in the first. And now as Brad Ausmus's Detroit Tigers come to the plate here in the bottom of the first inning, they will line them up thusly. Top of the order, Anthony Gose, burning speed right there. He's the center fielder. Second baseman Ian Kinsler follows. And then Miguel Cabrera, one of the game's pure great hitters. He's the first baseman. In the middle three, J.D. Martinez, former Astro. He's the DH. In left field, Yoenis Cespedes. A lot of thump, and Nick Castellanos is at third. In the bottom three, speed again, Rajai Davis. He's the right fielder. Doing the catching, James McCann. And at shortstop, little surprise this afternoon, Andrew Romine.
Scott Feldman for your Houston Astros. Last two starts have gone relatively well. Quality starts in those last two. Last outing gave up those 3 runs early before battling through that, going 6 2/3. Keep an eye on that first inning for him. That's usually where he finds his weakness and gives up a couple runs. And looking to change ways, he's facing a predominantly right-handed lineup here in Detroit.
And one of the things he also did, speaking of Scott Feldman, 10 strikeouts in that last outing, 6 2/3 innings. Anthony Gose right after it, fouls one on the left side. And some of the folks here, broadcast bunch with the Tigers, kind of talking about 10 strikeouts for Scott Feldman. What's he doing different? For me, what I saw was a very good curveball in that outing after he got the feel. Corners drawn in on Gose. He grounds one right at the drawn in third baseman, and making the play, Valbuena out, number 1.
Talked about Valbuena's home runs, but on defense, I'm sure a lot of pitchers would be bragging about that too. Colby Rasmus is going to be out there in left field. Jake Marisnik in center. George Springer in right in that spacious Comerica outfield. Valbuena at third. Villar at shortstop. Altuve and Carter on the right side. Hank Conger getting the day game start with Scott Feldman. And I agree with you. The strikeouts for Feldman with 10, you just immediately assume that curveball was on.
And he did have a good over-the-top job. Ian Kinsler. He's off to a nice start, hitting .313, but you look further into the numbers. Ian Kinsler, who has hit with power over his career, does not have a long ball yet. Has 50 hits already on the year, 20 RBIs, 11 doubles. So he's been very effective as he lines one. That's the first hit of the afternoon, dropping one in left field, a 1-out single.
I was curious to see that home run number 2. Just a good job of staying on that breaking ball, breaking a base hit to left off his ex-teammate.
And that brings up Miguel Cabrera. He has been a hot hitter. Of course, he's always a hot hitter. He's had a hot career, is what you might say of Miguel Cabrera. Hitting .331 now. He's still hitting the long ball, 10 of them, 30 RBIs. He's the heart and soul of this offense for the Tigers, and they've been good for quite some nice long stretch right now. No coincidence that Cabrera has been a part of the team. By the way, Victor Martinez on the DL now. He's had a sore left knee, and so just placed on the DL, 15 days. Tigers will try to make do without him. Shift on for Cabrera. He has shown the ability to hit balls through the right side when he desires.
I think that's good RBI guys have the ability to do that. But he's just a flat all-around good hitter.
Great hitter. Yep. 8-game hitting streak, hitting .387 over that span, 12 for 31. 5 dingers in that span for Cabrera. Runner goes, and a shot into right field. So you leave the right side open, and I don't know if he was shooting at it, but he takes beautiful advantage. 9-game hitting streak now for Miguel Cabrera. Runners at first and second, and 1 out for the cleanup man, J.D. Martinez.
Well, in order to be a career .320 hitter like Miguel Cabrera is, you've got to be able to spray the ball all over the ballpark and be able to give in a little bit too. He's got a lot of pride as a hitter, but at the same time, he's not afraid to go the other way and take advantage of what defenses give him. And I agree. I'm not sure if he was trying to shoot that way, but I guarantee you a guy of his caliber has an idea where the open holes are.
Early in the ball game, you're not necessarily going up there with the need to hit the home run. Make something happen, see if you can have a big first inning, put some runs on the board, and put pressure on the Astros. J.D. Martinez stands in, and though the batting average isn't where he's maybe now become accustomed to hitting, last year hitting over 300 in his first year with the Tigers, currently hitting .267 and 8 bombs. but he has been swinging the bat well.
Sometimes I wonder if shifts are put on to encourage guys to go for the base hit as opposed to trying to drive the ball out of the ballpark.
And I guess I could see that, where the home run is what you figure beats you right now. First inning, does it beat you? Maybe. But I don't know that. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel on that one. JD Martinez has hit in 11 straight, and that pickoff play towards second base close on Kinsler.
There's a nice stop by Altuve.
In that 11-game hitting streak for Martinez, a .410 batting average. So he has been smoking hot, 16 for 39 in that span. And a lot of people have said that for JD Martinez, the reason he's gotten so much better after leaving Houston is that he's come over here. Miguel Cabrera has had a great influence. Can a guy like Cabrera have that kind of impact on other hitters?
I would think so. I would imagine. Especially you got a young, impressionable guy like JD Martinez, kind of lost in his ways before leaving the Astros, comes over here and, you know, re-identify himself a little bit, and maybe through osmosis absorbing some of that good mojo that Miguel Cabrera creates.
We knew JD had great power, and he hit while as a member of the Astros. I believe the longest home run in this ballpark. They had recorded that out to left center field. One out for Feldman. Ground ball left side. Can they get two? It's VR onto Altuve, and they do get the double play. So Scott Feldman, who's among the leaders in ground ball outs this year, gets a pair on that one swing, and that'll do it for the Tigers. We played one, and we're scoreless from Detroit.
Keuchel talking about Evan Gattis's bomb yesterday. He says, whenever I hear the crowd roar, I know somebody hit a bomb. And sure enough, Gattis was rounding the bases and doing his little caveman dance and all that stuff. I'm not exactly sure what the caveman dance is, something I'll have to look into. But he went 1 for 3, 2-run home run yesterday. And Gattis talked about the importance of the Astros kind of hanging with him through his struggles earlier in the year. He said it's good to be hitting the ball again, but the actions are going to speak louder for words and for me. And he's grateful that they stuck with him, guys.
Yeah, that always pays off for guys that, well, once they start swinging the bat well, it's the obvious. But I think Evan Gattis even had some frustrating moments where there was a need to put somebody else in, give them a try, whatever it may be. Take, for instance, Preston Tucker coming to the club and starting to play well. That means that somebody's not in the lineup, and it can be a challenge for a veteran who may not be swinging it well right then.
Well, I think the most important thing is the veteran that is not going well understands that the target's on his back until he starts raking.
196 the batting average, 8 dingers on the year for Evan Gattis, and he's driven in 24. And I would say that RBI figure puts him in pretty good stead at this time of the year.
No, I agree. Yeah, the power and the production are there. The average is trying to get up there.
Down on strikes, Evan Gattis. Second strikeout and 2 in a row now for David Price. With 1 out, it brings up Chris Carter. Well, another guy in that same category. And you've got John Singleton just tearing up the minor leagues. Had a 10 RBI game. He's been player of the week. Might be player of the world right now, the way he's been going at AAA.
Well, he put up numbers in 1 week that most guys beg for in about first half of the season.
Shift on for Carter as he takes a ball from David Price. Price struck out George Springer to end the first inning, a 1-2-3 frame, but a 3-2 fastball that was pretty much right down the chute upper end of the strike zone. One and one the count on Chris. 7 bombs on the year, and he's driven in 20. Carter pops it on the right side. Miguel Cabrera, like some of us here in the booth, or at least one of us having a tough time seeing that pop fly, eventually makes the catch.
It is bright out here, Ashford. There's a little bit of cloud cover, but good grief.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, too, you see a guy like Chris Carter take a massive hack like that. You expect the ball to be somewhere in the outfield, and it was just a little pop up to first.
Blummer, you look up to the top of the stadium and around the downtown area here in Detroit. You can see some flags and the wind blowing out toward the left field corner. Does that wind impact the game at all down below?
It does a little bit, but you know how sometimes a pop fly can get up above the stands a little bit and get blown around. But these big ballparks these days, it has a tendency to cut down on it a little bit. Sometimes if it's coming in from one of the right field or left field corners, it kind of creates that swirl to it.
Here's a guy at Colby Rasmus who has hit some very timely home runs for the team. Had some big swings. Had a sacrifice fly yesterday that I thought was big, and it was one of those at bats where you've got a chance to drive in runs, and you start to see who are the guys on your club that want to have the chance to drive in the run. He got a count that was favorable to him, and he just jumped all over a fastball, drove it deep, and bases were loaded at the time. Everybody was able to move up. It was one of those kinds of at bats, and for me it kind of, at least for the time being, has stuck with me as, yeah, this guy wants to drive in the big runs.
It's good to see. You got to have those guys in your lineup. He's in a pretty unique position behind that 3-4-5 mix that are hitting under 200, so there's going to be opportunities for Colby to go out there and get those RBIs.
Tigers employ the shift on Colby Rasmus. 1-2 the count. 59 degrees here in Detroit.
Balmy.
Balmy is the word I was not going to use. No, actually, it feels pretty nice here in the booth. Yeah. I don't know down on the field if it's a bit on the chilly side. Tough assignment for Colby Rasmus against the lefty David Price. And the breaking ball got him. So a couple of strikeouts in the inning. 3 on the afternoon for David Price as he has faced just 6 through his first couple of innings. After 1.5, a scoreless game.
dealer. Scott Feldman's last outing against Toronto. 10 punch-outs we talked about. Ash hinted at that curveball being fantastic. You can see had great location on it. What's interesting to me is that he had a pretty good fastball and cutter going that day too. But you know you're throwing a good mix of pitches when you can throw a hanging breaking ball to Russell Martin and get him to swing and miss.
It was one of those games that in the first inning you wondered how long is he going to be able to last, and the bullpen was in need of a lengthy start that day. And once he put it together and started getting that curveball and the high heater to work for him, he pitched extremely well. Bottom of the second inning, 5-hitter Yoenis Cespedes at the plate. He plays left field and he's been playing it well for the Tigers. Shift on, so Feldman works him in with that fastball and has a count of 1 ball and 1 strike. It'll be Cespedes, Castellanos, and Rajai Davis for the Tigers. Really couldn't have a nicer afternoon for a ball game. I imagine there are plenty on the field for the Astros that wouldn't have minded a night game today, but it was a little bit of an early wake-up call in the rush to the early buses, and
such a harsh reality when that alarm goes off. First day of that, you assume the first game of a road trip or a series. I understand. Night game.
I understand you may have faced that harsh alarm this morning.
Well, I'm still on West Coast time.
Yeah.
So my alarm went off, and I thought I had to take the kids to school.
Well, you're still a dad. Don't forget that now.
No. It's tough to forget in my household.
4 beautiful daughters. Triplets. Tell you what, it doesn't get much better than that.
No, they're fun. Never a dull moment, that's for sure.
Cespedes with 5 dingers on his year. Reaches out and just slices one down the right field side. Stays at 1-2. It was Yoenis Cespedes at the trade deadline last year, traded by the Oakland A's to the Boston Red Sox. John Lester came over to Oakland, and I think we all kind of scratched our heads trying to figure out, okay, so what's the logic here? The A's had been rolling up some great offensive numbers, but they started to swirl downward at that point as the 1-2 is inside. And when it was all said and done, the A's got in that 1-game playoff in the American League. They were not able to win things, and it didn't work out well in terms of what they did. And they've now lost Lester. Jeff Samardzija came over. He's gone. Solid base hit by Cespedes. It comes on the 2-2 as he's leading off here in the second inning. It'll bring up third baseman Nick Castellanos.
That's that first inning I was talking about when we were given a little scouting report on Scott Feldman. 12 runs allowed in that first inning, 11 of them earned in 8 starts this season, so it was big for him to get out of that first inning. I guess you could just narrow it down and say those first 3 innings for him are kind of big. Once he settles in and gets comfortable and realizes what pitches are working for him, he pitches pretty well.
Scott Feldman in his 11th year in the major league, 62 and 72 lifetime, and the career ERA at 4.50. Ground ball, can they get the double play? Altuve tries to make it himself for an assisted 3, and the second double play already turned in by the Astros this afternoon. So Castellanos grounds into it. 2 outs, base is empty now for Rajai Davis.
Right man, right spot. Altuve, you can see the shift was on. Altuve standing right in the perfect spot. Castellanos, just bad location on that one. Hit it right to him. Easy, 4 unassisted. That's the 44th double play the Tigers have hit into this season.
No, they're among the leaders. I noticed that. I think they were second in the league at the start of play today. What that says for me is they've had a lot of base runners.
Yeah.
On top of that, maybe haven't come through as often as they'd like. We're accustomed to seeing the Tigers as, if not the top scoring team in the league, certainly one of them. They have played great defense, is the word I have heard. But they're missing some of the power starting pitching that they've had in the past. Verlander on the DL. Max Scherzer now a member of the Washington Nationals. And it's hard to think of the Tigers without those guys as part of the rotation. Rajai Davis hitting .275. also possesses great speed. He's a terrific stolen base guy. And I guess one of the things I think of with the Tigers is a team that just slams the baseball, doesn't run a lot, but that's not the version this year. They're running and running very well.
I think that's a credit to Brad Ausmus.
Line drive center field, coming on and over and making the play, Marisnick, and that'll do it. Just 3 hitters come to the plate in the second inning. We play 2 scoreless innings of baseball. Fair right now at southwest.com. Old Tiger Stadium was actually the first game I ever played in the major leagues or started at Old Tiger Stadium.
How about that?
Actually made my first appearance in Cleveland, but then right the next day on up to Detroit, and what a legendary place it was. Right field. You had that overhang from the second deck. You played there, right?
I missed it. I was in the National League.
You could hit some fly balls that wouldn't get out on the lower wall, but they would catch the seats up above. Not that I ever took advantage of it, but I saw teammates do that kind of trick.
Oh, sure.
Third inning, scoreless game. Jonathan Villar is the 7-hitter. He gets the start at shortstop today. Switch hitter, batting right-handed. And he's got a power stroke from the right side of the plate. Has not homered on the year. 4 RBIs for Jonathan. Has that batting average at .229. Price with the breaking ball misses away, very close.
Good pitch.
Behind the plate today, it's Mark Carlson working it. Around the infield, Mike DeMuro, Tripp Gibson, and Brian Gorman. Those are the umpires for today's game. Pitch is popped up on the left side near the plate. And now the third baseman making the call. Castellanos with the catch, out number 1. Going to bring up Hank Conger, switch hitting catcher. Gets the start against Price. It's a very unique road trip for the Astros. 7 games, 5 of which are day games. That's going to be time to turn out the lights early and get some sleep.
Man, you ain't lying. Better get adjusted real quick.
Conger in the 8th spot in the order. Hitting .156, a couple of big home runs for the club, and 3 RBIs. Now we're kind of seeing what David Price is about. He throws strikes. He'll come at you with a lot of fastballs, but he'll change speeds occasionally. His 28th pitch of the afternoon is a fastball right there on the edge. It's 0-2.
So you want to be in the big leagues. You're a backup catcher or a utility type infielder, and the one start you get on the week is a day game, first day of the road trip against David Price. Go get him, kid.
And you find that to be apparently a challenge, huh?
Just a bit.
Inside from Price.
he's throwing consistently 94, 95 miles an hour.
He's had one of those arms, and he's been showing it now for quite some good while. Price working almost from the stretch at all times. Outside corner caught. So watching 3 strikes go by. Hank Conger down on strikes. That's 2 outs, 4 strikeouts now for David Price.
Pitching firm to quite from this one looked like a little bit of a backdoor cutter. But look at the location on those 3 strikes he threw to Conger. Perfectly bunched up on that outside corner.
So he's picking up the strikeouts early. It brings up the 9-hitter Jake Marisnick. Jake hitting .299. 3 homers on the year, 16 ribbies. And 0-1 the count. Jake's been a big part of really everything the Astros have done to this point. Excellent center fielder defensively. And the bat has been quality through that first quarter of the season. And he's also involved in a stat that's intriguing. Best record for a team when a player has 1 or more RBIs this year. Jake Marisnick is the leader. His club, the Astros, are 13-0 when he's done that. Colby Rasmus is second best in that category. 11-0 are the Astros when Colby drives in a run.
Get some guys on base for these guys.
That's around the major leagues. Matt Carpenter's 3rd. Luis Valbuena is 4th. Probably speaks to a couple of clubs there that have been winning a lot of games. St. Louis Cardinals, by the way, have the best record in baseball, just a half a game better than what the Astros have done. The Cardinals at 27-13 in the National League Central. The Astros in the American League West 27-14, and a 5.5 game lead over the Angels. Think early season wins don't make a difference? Caught looking is Marisnick. That's 5 strikeouts for David Price as he has mowed through the first 9 hitters without a base runner. We played 2.5. Still looking for the game's first run.
Insurance MLB All-Star Game ballot is open, and for the first time ever, it's online only. Vote for your favorite Astros today by visiting astros.com/vote. Scott Feldman back to work here after a couple of scoreless frames, and this is important for Feldman, who has been struggling in the first. He gave up 3 hits in those first 2, but thanks to with the help of the defense, I should say, he got through them. He's been really frustrated. Came in today with an ERA over 12 in just that first inning and 8 starts so far this season. Didn't really have an answer for why, but definitely bugging him a little bit just to get his team in sort of a tough position right out of the gate. So that was something he was hoping to turn around. He's a veteran, guys, and he's been through a lot of different streaks. He's seen it all over his career, something he just had to work himself out of.
Thanks, Julia. And Feldman has allowed 3 hits already through the first 2 innings, but a couple of double plays turned in by the Astros have been the answer. 8-hitter James McCann at the plate. He's the catcher. Tigers currently hurting a bit with injuries. Alex Avila, their everyday catcher, has an injured knee right now. He's on the DL. Victor Martinez, we mentioned, on the DL, sore left knee. Justin Verlander, Joe Nathan, their would-be closer. So you can't say the Tigers are anywhere near full strength at the moment. McCann, one of the guys they've got up now doing the catching and hitting .282. He's done a nice job in limited opportunities. 1 home run on the season and 7 RBIs. Battles one off. Count stays at 1-2. Brad Ausmus now in his 2nd year as the skipper of these Tigers. And I know Jeff Blum, a former teammate, would feel the same way, but you have to believe the Tigers, like the Astros under A.J. Hinch, are in very good hands.
I'd say so. They gave Brad the keys to the Ferrari, and he's doing quite well with them.
It has been a Ferrari, that's true. Little soft swing, fouling it down the right side.
But it's pretty impressive what they've done with these guys being on the DL and still being able to win as many games as they've had. You lose a guy like Scherzer, you have Verlander hurt. I mean, those are 2 gaping holes in your rotation.
One ball and 2 strikes. Infield pretty much straight up. Pitch strays inside. 2-2 the count. Tigers are off to a solid start. They're 24-17. They're 2.5 games back of first place Kansas City in that American League Central, a division that you would think might go round and round between those 2 clubs over the course of the year. Nice play by Feldman for out number 1. And Victor Martinez, we mentioned, on the DL. Numbers this year versus last year, and how do the Tigers stay where they're at with the loss of those numbers?
It's pretty incredible that a guy like Victor Martinez, even with an injury, is hitting .216. That's shocking to me that he's getting off to such a slow start this season. I know he's hurting, not the same guy, but one of the things that, in talking with Brad, is he loved Victor Martinez because he said every at-bat he was going up there and grinding each at-bat out. And I think there was a point sometime last year where he had as many home runs as he did strikeouts on the season, which is pretty incredible to do. Yeah. He had like 31 home runs and 31 strikeouts or something crazy.
That's one of those Joe DiMaggio stats where you see it from years gone by and it just doesn't happen anymore. Andrew Romine at the plate. He's a switch hitter. 29 years of age. And hitting .346 in limited play.
How about if you get these guys back after the All-Star break? It's like having a massive free agency acquisitions with these guys coming back.
Well, I guess that's part of what the Tigers are asking themselves. Can they stay in a good position, striking that ability to do so with Kansas City? The Royals are,
my goodness,
really looking like a good club. They have swung the bats better than I ever believed they would.
They figured it out. Good pitching, great bullpen.
And their bullpen right back on top of everything again this year. Down on strikes, Romine. That's the first strikeout for Scott Feldman this afternoon. Back to the top with Anthony Gose. But yeah, I would say KC is starting to look like the club that they probably have purported themselves to be. That oftentimes doesn't work out that way. We're in the 3rd inning. 3 hits for the Tigers, none for the Astros. The Astros without a base runner. And kind of back to those standings we were talking about. Again, the Astros' 2nd best record in all of Major League Baseball. They lead in terms of record in the American League. They lead the Angels by 5.5 games in the West. There's a line drive down the left field side. Base hit for Gose, so there's speed aboard. A 2-out single, hit number 4 for the Tigers. But the Astros also lead in the division over Seattle, who's 8 games back. Texas 9.5 games, and Oakland, after losing 2 out of 3 to Houston, 13.5 games back. So that's a lot of cushion that's been applied.
Yeah, Yeah, you'd like to expand that as much as you could. Sit back on that in case you do hit that rough patch throughout the course of the season, which every team does go through. But if you have a nice cushion like that and minimize damage, you'll be in real good shape right after that All-Star break heading into the end of the season.
Ian Kinsler is 1 for 1 on the day, maybe shooting to the right side right there with a wide open right side. And speed aboard. Anthony Gose loves to run. The Tigers love to run. They're second best in the league in stolen bases, right behind the Houston Astros, who lead the league. 37 stolen bases for the Tigers. They've been caught 12 times. And Anthony Gose, one of the reasons they're stealing bags. He's 7 of 9. Kinsler with the base hit in the first inning, now hitting .317 on his year.
So the Tigers have 37 stolen bases on the year.
37 bags for the club.
2 years ago, they had 35 total in
for the year.
season.
That's an amazing stat.
That is. How do you? Does a manager change that, or is it personnel? Or?
Well, you know what, personnel, and I'm with you on the Brad Ausmus thing. I think he's going to do everything he can. And again, just like A.J. Hinch, to find a way to get an edge. But what the Tigers did is they brought in Rajai Davis prior to getting Anthony Gose. And Rajai Davis is 9 of 10 this year. And that started to really turn things last year in terms of the way the Tigers approached their game offensively.
Kinsler's a guy that can steal some bases, too.
He used to steal a lot, and he hit for power. This year, you're right, he's 6 for 6 in bags. Feldman trying to hold on, change his tempo, misses away a close pitch, and you can see Feldman freeze after that delivery.
There's a lot of desire behind this pitch. See how close he gets. Ooh. I'm not sure umpires are that good to be able to call balls and strikes on a line like that.
You mean it's taken you all these years to make that "I'm not sure" comment?
No, it's having the guts to say it on air.
Fly ball to left, easy for Rasmus. He'll glide under and make the catch. That'll do it for the Tigers in the third inning. We've played 3 scoreless here in Detroit.
Join the Astros at Minute Maid Park on Saturday, May 30th as they take on the White Sox. 10,000 fans will receive a George Springer replica jersey presented by Houston Methodist. For more information, visit Astros.com or call 1-877-9-ASTROS.
I love these orange jerseys. I think they look really good on the white uniform pant or the gray on the road. Altuve up and lines one foul down the left side. The struggles continue a bit now for Jose. Fly to center field to start things. So 0 for 1 on his day. Batting average at .308. When do you ever see that batting average that low for Jose?
He stinks.
That's something.
Drop him in the order.
What would the two of us have given to have that batting average right now?
I would love to be this awful.
I shouldn't even I shouldn't even put you in the conversation.
Oh,
you were way too good to worry about that kind of stuff. But boy, there were some times I was ready to make a deal. 0-2 the count on Jose.
I've reached several moments in my career through each season where I was ready to make those deals.
Line drive, that's going to be a base hit up and over the second baseman Kinsler. 1 for 2 on the day is Altuve, and that's the first hit first base runner for the Astros here. It comes in the 4th inning, leading off.
Second go around for the Astros against David Price.
So you say wait for the good pitch, right?
Or just go ahead and pick that nasty one on the outside corner and drop it into center field for a knock.
Or just go ahead also and with 2 strikes protect and see if you can come up with something. Anyway you slice it, Jose Altuve aboard, and now some speed aboard for Houston. It brings up Luis Valbuena in the 2 spot today. Altuve, by the way, hit just 200 on that recent homestand. Valbuena takes the strike. Pretty surprising the Astros could have the homestand they had, winning 7 of 9 with Altuve going 7 for 35.
He's the table setter.
Sometimes he's the deliverer. I mean, he's the big man.
They're still pitching around him with guys in scoring position too.
Strike 2 is called. Valbuena flied to center field in the 1st inning. No sooner stands in here in the 4th inning than has an 0-2 count. Altuve, by the way, has had a pretty darn good career against the Tigers, hitting .333 before play started today. One thing he's never done against Detroit pitching is hit the long ball. Of course, half of those games theoretically played here in Detroit, and tough ballpark.
It's actually not too bad for me for a left-handed hitter. I mean, if there's one spot in this ballpark where you could try and go out, it's to that right field.
Straight away to right field, 365 as it pushes toward the gap, and then it deepens. Center field is just ludicrous at 420 and stretching a good ways either direction. And Valbuena down on strikes. That's now 6 strikeouts already, 1 out here in the 4th inning.
Our TXU Energy Power player is George Springer. First big league home run right here at Comerica Park, going to that right field area that we were talking about. But he's got pop all over the ballpark, and this one was down Tampa Bay off of David Price. Got himself a hanging changeup, and probably one of the farthest balls I've ever seen hit in a big league ball game. That ball was absolutely annihilated.
And the dance moves were pretty strong as well.
I'd like to see those moves come back.
Yeah, I'd like to see that head getting out a little bit with the bat. Now, yes, when you're struggling, you want to try to hit some balls back up the middle, maybe to right field. But it looks like at times George is having balls kind of beat him up a little bit, get deep on him. Tigers play for 2 on the infield. 2-0 the count on George. 6 dingers on the year, 194 the batting average.
There is just not enough time to see the pitch and recognize ball or strike immediately and be able to swing, and when guys are throwing 93 plus miles an hour. That split second of hesitation is what leads to the getting blown up. If you're not ready to hit that fastball from the initial thought, you're going to have a tough time squaring it up.
And what's your thought with George Springer, with the tools that he possesses, when he's batting with men in scoring position, or a chance to drive in a run, or a chance to gap one, or whatever the case may be, as to what his mindset should be?
I just think he's got to attack. Talked to a lot of great hitters, Lance Berkman being one of them, and it always looked like Lance was ready to swing first, take second. And I think that's because he had a great approach, great game plan. And we're going to hold George Springer to a higher standard because we have seen what he can do. We know what is inside that young man.
You know, that's a good statement. The reason for the conversation is because he is so loaded with tools. And there you go. That's not a bad thing. 3-0, he got a fastball, got the green light, and aired out this place.
I love it. And that's the thing. He has got such a good eye. He works himself into great hitters' counts. Take advantage of him.
He wound up striking out looking in the first inning. Took a previous pitch that could have been called, and another great swing. It's 3-2. Now look, if George winds up striking out here against David Price, many guys have done it. But if he gets that kind of swing, then it's a bit of a game changer.
So true. And they're going to keep challenging him until he does start turning some of those fastballs around. But I love the aggressiveness, the 3-0, 3-1. I love that.
You know, it's 420 to center field here, but George can leave there if that opportunity arises. There he takes a strike, or rather takes the walk. But after taking a couple of dangerous, ominous swings.
But taking those swings on that 3-0, 3-1 changed that at bat. Maybe David Price has to be a little more perfect with that pitch, or he doesn't want to make a mistake out over the zone because of the two previous swings, and earns himself the walk right there. That was a beautiful at bat.
Could not agree more. Did not go to the plate looking for a walk. He wound up with a walk as the result after some very big swings. So, one out, runners at first and second for Evan Gattis, the cleanup man.
Got some guys on base for a guy who could bash a ball out of any ballpark.
And he's been doing that. Again, 8 homers on the year for Evan.
Did he pack his cave club?
I think it comes as just a guaranteed part of the arsenal.
I like it. I'm a little jealous. You and Brownie get to see the Gattis home runs at home. I haven't had a chance to see too many of them.
Well, he's had some big ones. Let me just inform you, in that version of things, he had one yesterday and now has an 0-2 count. Drove in a pair in yesterday's game, going 1 for 3. If you're going to go 1 for 3, 1 for 4, 1 for 5, but that one hit is a home run or a double and it drives in runs, you're very productive.
Yeah, if you're not going to get many, you might as well make them big ones. You know that Evan Gattis has got the strength.
He's had 2 home runs over his last 5 games. He's had 6 RBIs in that span, and now timeout called by the Tigers. Scott Feldman's gotten through the first 3 innings against this dangerous Detroit lineup, and so you're locked up with David Price, but now the Astros with their first legitimate scoring opportunity at all here in the 4th inning. I would think, have to figure against David Price, you better take advantage when the opportunities arise. 0-2 the count. Strike 3 call. Gattis caught looking. A couple of strikeouts here in the inning. That's 7 now on the afternoon for Price. And now with 2 outs, it brings up Chris Carter.
Well, as frustrating as strikeouts are, if you're going to make an out, that might be the one you want. If he hits that ball on the ground, it's a guaranteed double play and Price is out of this inning, but at least you give Chris Carter a chance to maybe take advantage of a mistake from David Price.
Carter popped to first in the 2nd inning. 165 the batting average for Chris. Lifetime 080 against the Tigers. But Carter had a big hit yesterday in the 6-1 win over the Oakland A's to make it 2 out of 3 in that series, and I thought that was crucial. But he had a hit that drove in a pair of runs. He had 2 RBIs in the previous game, going 1 for 4 against Oakland. Had a home run in that one. That was that drive opposite field. Such an easy swing to the Astros bullpen, and took a tie ball game and gave the Astros the lead, one they would not turn back over to the A's. Price with the 0-1. Ball and a strike. At times it's hard to know what to look for with Chris Carter, because when things really came together for him last year, the second half, nice easy stroke. Makes a big hack right here. It's 1-2.
That's what's crazy about some of his home runs. He's got such good pop, but it doesn't look like he's, putting much oomph behind it, and all of a sudden he barrels it up and it goes about 450 feet, it seems like.
Hit one down the left field line yesterday. Is it yesterday? 2 days ago against the Oakland A's. Towering drive up on the railroad tracks. Easy as could be. And down on strikes. So Price strikes out 3 in the inning. The Astros get their first base runners and first hit. They strand a pair. 3.5 innings in the books. And a scoreless game.
Number 400 home runs, that is. Kind of ironic he hit it over the 400 sign there in Seattle or St. Louis.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
it is kind of interesting. But no, that's great stuff. He's a future Hall of Famer for me. Career .320 average we've already talked about. Then you put on the 400 home runs. Sitting on 1,399 RBIs. How about that?
So the next one is number 1,400 of his career. Wow. He's some kind of player. He's 1 for 1 on the day. Lined one into right field for a base hit in the first inning. Hitting .336. I don't care what year it is or what time of year for that matter. You can look up on the board for Miguel Cabrera, generally speaking, and that's about what the average seems to be most of the time.
He's gotten an MVP vote every year he's played.
Wow.
Think about that.
He's already got 10 home runs on the year. Lifetime against the Astros. There must be other clubs phoning in trying to find out how do you get this guy out. He's hitting just .222 against Houston in 43 previous games. Again, that shift on. Miguel Cabrera and Yoenis Cespedes, a couple of guys who account for a lot of the offense for this club.
Yeah, that could be a dynamic duo right there. It's a great pickup by Dombrowski out here in Detroit. Add another big right-handed bat. Those two guys can rake.
Ground ball left side. Right to straight up shortstop. VR's there to make the play, and out number 1 in the 4th inning.
Well, that's how you get him out. Pump him up a little bit, talk about his career milestones, give him a nice little highlight package, and then get him to ground out.
I think we went beyond a little bit, didn't we? And we should.
He deserves it. I could watch his swing all day long.
Now you start talking about the great hitters of all time, and then insert the numbers of Miguel Cabrera with those guys and see how they stack up. Pretty darn well. I think someday when he walks away from the game, his name and his numbers are going to go right in amongst the greats.
He's only 32 years old. He's still got game left.
0-2 the count on J.D. Martinez.
Plenty of game left.
Martinez grounded into a 6-4-3 double play to end the first inning. First of 2 turned on the day by the Astros. Yeah. Now, is he one of those guys who plays into his 40s? We don't know yet, but
think about it, 32 years old, 400 home runs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where does that number wind up? Recently, seeing A-Rod get to 660 and then going by Willie Mays. A-Rod's got 10 home runs on the season. I didn't anticipate that was going to happen this year. The batting average isn't high, but he's slamming the long ball.
Well, it'll be interesting to me to see how the endurance is on a guy like Alex Rodriguez, having not played all last season, having to rely on some different substances to get through some of these seasons. That's where the question mark for me is going to pop up in that July, August, September when it gets nice and hot up there in New York.
J.D. Martinez down on strikes. That's 2 now for Scott Feldman. 2 outs in the 4th inning. And Yoenis Cespedes, who we just talked about, comes to the plate.
It's a great angle to see where he is on that baseball. You see him getting on the side, creating that cut.
And I think when your stuff starts to become a little bit limited, and I think Feldman is in that category most of the time, you've got to come up with a little cutter and something that moves the other way, and abilities to have the hammer, the curveball that Feldman has featured at times. Yoenis Cespedes looked like he was taking all the way. It's 2-0. Hitting .291. Been swinging a big bat. Been pushing that batting average upward. And now 3-0. Close pitches. But 3 balls and no strikes on Cespedes. Nick Castellanos, the third baseman, waits on deck. Tigers are 7th in the American League in runs scored. And that, to me, would seem to be a bit of a surprise. I don't know how much of that might be laid on the fact that they are missing Victor Martinez, and Alex Avila has been hurting. Three balls and a strike. And now the walk, another close pitch. 2-out walk, first issued by Scott Feldman. It brings up Castellanos.
Today's league leaders are brought to you by your local Honda dealer. There you see the comparisons between both ball clubs. Stark contrast on that top line. But the home runs far and above the best in the American League. A lot of runs scored. First place team, Houston Astros.
Castellanos fouls one on the right side. So Feldman gets in front. And we've touched on the Astros in the American League West. Kansas City leading in the American League Central. They're 2.5 games in front of these Tigers as we start play. Minnesota has been maybe surprisingly good, 6 games over the 500 mark. They're 3 games back. Then it's the White Sox and the Indians. The Indians off to a slow start on the year, despite a couple of straight wins now. In the American League East, the Yankees lead along with Tampa Bay. And if you talk about a couple of clubs in one division, that could be as big a surprise, I think, to many as any other division you could look at. You've got Boston, Baltimore, and Toronto at the bottom, and again with the Yankees and Rays on top.
Yeah, they're kind of bunched up in there.
I didn't think Tampa Bay had enough to be able to make that happen. I didn't think the Yankees were that good. There's a bluff at first base and a drive left center field deep. Back at the wall. Tigers take the early lead. A 2-run home run by Nick Castellanos. And Scott Feldman gives up the big one here in the fourth.
Seventh home run given up by Scott Feldman. It's a fastball that laid up out over the middle of the plate, and instantly Scott Feldman knew that right out of his hand. Castellanos does a good job of barreling up, staying right through it. Kid's got good pop. It's a deep part of this ballpark too.
A 2-out walk leads to that home run. 2-0 Tigers. Rajay Davis at the plate. Davis lined to center field in the second. It's not like the Tigers have been living by the long ball. Anything but. They're 11th in the league in long balls. Davis grounds to short. That'll do it. But the Tigers strike for a pair in the fourth inning. 2-0 Detroit after 4.
Follow the Astros all season with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment at any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet.
There's the Astros dugout. They're trailing 2-0 after 4 innings. 2-out home run by Nick Castellanos, the difference in the ball game. Mentioning that the Tigers start play today 11th in the league in home runs. The Astros, of course, leading, and they are well out in front through that first quarter of the season. Colby Rasmus leads off here in the 5th and takes just inside. Again, Mark Carlson calling the balls and strikes this afternoon. Shift on Colby, and he hits one on the ground sharply at the first baseman Cabrera, who makes the play. And by the way, Cabrera, all the talk all the time about his offensive side of the game. Defensively, they say he has been spectacular.
Despite his size, he's a pretty good athlete. Played a lot of third base in his career, now moving over to first base.
He's also played in the outfield, been on winning teams, and you get an idea why when you watch him just a little bit. He is a terrific player. One out for Jonathan VR. Should touch on the National League in terms of the standings. Washington, after a slow start on the season, now in first place by a game in front of the Mets. They're followed by Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Miami in the East. VR takes a ball 1-0. Jonathan hitting .224. Cardinals, the best record in baseball by a half game over the Houston Astros. They're followed by the Cubs, Reds, Pirates, and Brewers. And it's a ball and a strike. In the National League West, the Dodgers up by 2.5 over San Francisco, who started very slowly, but the Giants have been playing well. Padres at 5 back, followed by Arizona and Colorado. Fly ball right field. To his right is Rajai Davis to haul it in. 2 down here in the 5th inning. Brings up Hank Conger. He was caught looking in the 3rd inning. In fact, looking at all 3 pitches. All 3 strikes in the sequence. David Price is not a guy you typically want to fall behind. One ball and no strikes. Price, a 4-time All-Star. Again, a Cy Young Award winner. He's been 2nd and 6th in Cy Young voting through the years. Perfectly placed fastball, 94 miles an hour. What Blummer was talking about, the velocity has been very good in the mid-90s. He's had a changeup and a breaking ball, cutters. Makes life very tough on the hitters. Good swing by Conger, but it's 1-2.
That was that one pitch in this at bat that he had a chance to take a swipe at. There's usually one pretty good pitch to hit in each at bat. We talked about it earlier. You don't want to miss it, especially against a guy like David Price.
Price walks just under 2.5 per 9 innings and allows less than 8 hits per 9 innings. That's over his career, not just this season. 8 years in the big leagues, ERA at 3.21. And he's looking for this afternoon his 90th win. He is 89-52. Another good swing, but a fly ball to right field. Rajai back and over toward the line, and now moves back the other direction to make the catch. A 1-2-3 5th inning. Through 4.5, half a ball game, 2-0 Tigers.
In our Kubota pitching performance, we're going to look back at Dallas Keuchel yesterday, who moved to 6-0 on the season, the first Astro to do that since Roger Clemens back in 2004. Went 7 innings, no earned runs there, and A.J. Hinch saying after the game, that's about as sharp as I've seen him. He's back to the Keuchel we saw earlier in the season. Dallas saying that his command was a little spotty at times, but he was able to get that four seam over, and he hasn't been getting that outer quarter as often as he likes. So it felt good about some things. Dallas Keuchel, obviously a perfectionist, guys, and the team feels so confident when he's on the mound.
And well, they should. Thanks, Julia. He's been spectacular. And you wonder, can a guy maintain that kind of a season throughout? I don't know. We'll see. Bob Gibson once did, but that was a unique breed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Catcher James McCann leading off here in the 5th inning. For McCann. Ground ball left side past the diving VR at shortstop. Leadoff single for McCann. Six hits now for Detroit. 9-hitter Andrew Romine comes to the plate. Strikeout victim in the 3rd inning. Scott Feldman has 2 punch-outs on the day. When you talk offense in the American League, the Tigers are right in the middle of the pack. They're averaging about 4 1/3 runs a game. There goes the runner from first. Slashed foul ball down the left field side. So the Tigers, with nobody out, play a little hit and run here in the 5th.
I had an inkling that they would do that. They've hit into so many double plays throughout the course of the season already. You know Brad's going to try and move those guys around, create holes, and stay out of that double play.
Look at the stolen bases against Scott Feldman last season versus this, and why that difference? Wow. Let's see, what would that ratio be? A little line drive on a hop, actually. VR with a nice play, and then the throw dropped. Not an easy throw to handle for Altuve, but everybody's safe.
Is Altuve okay is the question.
James McCann came in pretty hard there at second base.
Well, and a late throw coming in, too, kind of leaves your second baseman hanging out to dry. VR trying to get that lead runner. I'm not sure he put a glove on that ball. That may have squared Altuve up. And then you get McCann, like you said, just sliding in right on top of him. VR was relatively out of control trying to get that ball on a short hop, but spikes high coming in. Watch the baseball. I think that goes through and hits him on the inner thigh. If not the chest. Good grief.
So McCann and Romine aboard. It's one of those plays where you're not trying to get a double play. You're trying to get an out.
Yeah, just get that lead runner. But he shook up on this play.
And Altuve still bent over, now straightens up.
Yeah, he doesn't like playing in Comerica, I'm guessing. He had a subluxed jaw last time he had an injury here.
Subluxed jaw, huh?
Yeah.
There's a base hit into left field. It's going to be a 90-foot move up. Bases are loaded. 2 hits and an error in the inning. That Romine ground ball was ruled a fielder's choice and an E6. The E6 enabling McCann to move into second base.
A little slash going on here from Goes.
That may be the reason his batting average is so drastically up this year.
Being able to go the other way. You can see the shortstop holding the base runner on, leaving that 6-hole wide open. Nice piece of hitting. And again, too, you have the shortstop holding the base runner on. The third baseman sees the bunt and creeps in a little bit. Good play.
Bases loaded, nobody out. Tigers already on top 2-0. Ian Kinsler at the plate. He's 1 for 2. The Astros play to get 2. They've turned 2 of them on the day.
Yeah, chopper right there to third base would be a great thing for Scott Feldman. Have Albuena come home to Conger and turn it down to first. Double play and not allow a run to score would be the perfect situation.
Nobody throwing in the Astros pen. Bodies getting loose as we speak. you really can't fault Scott Feldman, as he got that ground ball off the bat of Romine. But now bases juiced. A ball and a strike. Kinsler with the 1-for-2 day, hitting .315 on the year. So again, the Tigers in the middle of the pack, 4 1/3 runs a ball game. Where do the Astros stand? Well, they're a few clubs above the Tigers, about 4, almost 4.5 runs a game. Close and missing. 2-1. Scott Feldman, along with David Price, bringing some close pitches and not getting the call, and that's part of the ball in the strike zone, and that's what you want as a pitcher.
He hit his spot with a great pitch and just didn't get the call.
You talked about how the umpires are being evaluated constantly, and they're getting word. Does a Mark Carlson see at the end of the day that he missed this number of pitches?
That was the same pitch. Better pitch, obviously, because he gets a called strike on it.
2-2 the count. But I'll tell you, from that side of the game, working with pitchers, they're trying to make the perfect pitch all the time. When they don't get the call on it, makes it really tough.
Frustrating.
Now, as a hitter, it makes it tough when that's called a strike, but the more it's called a strike appropriately, the more you learn to adjust as a hitter.
Yep. It's even frustrating as a defender. You'd be standing out there in a situation like this, and you see your pitcher make a pitch, and you're like, oh, how do you not give him that?
Yeah. Well, you see it as infielders. I'm sure outfielders do as well. 2-2 the count. Big moment in the ball game. 2-0 Tigers. Kinsler fouls it back.
Got away with one there. Might have been that cutter elevated, kind of hung out over the plate. Kinsler took a pretty good pass at it. He's trying to hit that down and away corner again, but that one left it middle up.
You know, we've talked about Altuve losing a little weight this year, getting leaner and sleeker. Looks like Kinsler might have followed that same playbook. The 2-2 once again. Ground ball right side. Altuve hard to his left, gets an out at second. That's all they'll get as the run scores. 3-0 Tigers. 1 out, runners at the corners.
That was actually a fantastic play from Altuve. Kinsler, the right-handed hitter, they're playing him a little bit to pull, but he had to go ranging far to his left. Ball was hit pretty well, but he puts a throw right on the money. And that's all VR could do too, because he was playing so far into that 6-hole. But a good job of making sure of getting at least 1 out on that play.
So 1st and 3rd, a run in. And now Mr. Dangerous steps in, Miguel Cabrera. 1-for-2 on the day. They got him with a ground ball to shortstop in the 4th inning. You'd love to get that right now and have the shot at the double play. The Tigers, with that home run today by Nick Castellanos in the 4th inning, have just 35 long balls as a team. There's Cabrera shooting toward right field, and he squares up the baseball so often.
If you're a high run producer like Miguel Cabrera is, do you think he can see this? That's RBI right there, written all over it. With the runner at 3rd, less than 2 outs.
I would imagine he can see it.
Good pitch by Feldman, pitching into that shift.
Yeah, I refer to Cabrera as a barrel dropper. He drops the barrel of the bat lower than his hands, and he creates I think, a very intelligent approach to hitting the baseball, because if you hit it on the top portion of the bat, it goes to right field. If you hit it on the bottom portion, it goes to left field, and it's the same swing. And he lines one into left field. It drops in front of Rasmus. 4-0 Tigers. Stopping at second is Kinsler. And now it gets really tough when you're facing David Price as sharp as he is.
A lot of base runners, on base percentage. We talked about the Tigers being excellent. Their batting average is excellent. And more runners you put on base. That's what you're talking about right there. That's just dropping the head on that thing.
See how the barrel is much lower than the hands.
Such a good hitter.
And he can take that very same swing on that same ball, and if he puts the barrel a little more inside the ball shoots on the same line drive to right field. It's not pop fly versus ground ball kind of thing. It's right field versus left field. JD Martinez at the plate. He's grounded into a double play and struck out.
Everything about his swing is so quiet, Miguel Cabrera's. The head is still. The hands are nice and easy in a relaxed position every time he goes after the pitch.
The 11-game hitting streak for JD. Has a ball and a strike. Tigers struck for the first 2 runs of the game. They came on the home run by Castellanos in the 4th inning and now have added 2 more here in the 5th.
How about that? We forgot to mention that was Miguel Cabrera's 1,400th RBI.
There you go. Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. A-Rod heading toward 2,000.
Some run producers on that list. Good grief.
2-1 the count. Have you been watching the exploits of Bryce Harper of the Washington Nationals?
He's kind of good right now.
Pretty amazing with the bat. He's also had some temper tantrums, and I felt like he was mistreated yesterday, but he and the umpire's not getting along a whole lot lately. There's a strike called. It's 2-2.
Yeah, for me, that one yesterday was a little personal.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Money pitch from Feldman.
He got a seam or 2 on the outside edge, didn't he?
Well, came back a little bit. He's actually been locating pretty good on that outside corner. Just a couple mistakes he hasn't been able to get away with.
Altuve comes into the bag. Would be a bad out if you could get that. Two and two. Shift on. And now 3-2. Do the runners go in motion with Martinez at the plate? Again, second in the league in stolen bases are the Tigers. Scott Feldman with a bluff to the bag. It's tough for that pitcher when he turns to throw back to the bag and the infielder is behind the base runner. Runners go. The 3-2 hit in the air right field and deep. Springer on the move, makes the running grab, and now the double play is ready to be had. Altuve can get it at either base, and he gets it at first base. So 9-4-3 on the double play. And that's a nice way to get out of the inning. So the Tigers pick up 2 runs and lead it 4-0 after 5.
Astros here in the top of the 6th inning. Got another pitch by pitch. It's presented by your local steel dealer. David Price versus Jake Marisnick. Getting in the kitchen. That one actually called a ball, a slider down in the zone, but comes back with another heater, tries to backdoor him with that cutter, doesn't get the call. Get him leaning out over the outside corner, then pump that heater on the inside and lock him up for the strikeout looking.
Price has been throwing a lot of strikes, and now the Astros have some work to do as they trail 4-0. 9-1-2 coming up here in the 6th. Jake Marisnick, Jose Altuve, and Luis Valbuena. 8 strikeouts already for Price, and he didn't get a man in the 5th.
It's good to watch that pitch by pitch and then have the guy hit again. You can have a chance to see what the game plan is for David Price against Jake Marisnick. You just saw another fastball in that inside corner.
0-2 the count. There are some pitchers as a hitter you just don't have an answer for some reason.
They're better.
That might be, and that may be why I was going to say a lot of hitters probably have that same story against Price over the years.
A lot of guys have that problem.
Just inside.
It's interesting. You see first pitch inside, second pitch outside, third pitch inside. Do they go away? And you can catch on to those tendencies and guess a little bit on certain pitchers. But I wonder if he's going to try and double up on the inside corner. Oh, fastball away.
Got it. 9 strikeouts. First out here in the 6th inning. Let's go back to that double play that ended the previous half inning and watch what happens with the runners. They're in motion, and Blummer takes over with the rest.
I wonder if they, knowing it's a hit and run, usually as a runner you're looking up to see where the ball's hit, and I wonder if they just saw how well JD hit that ball. They just assumed it was going to end up in the corner, but George Springer ran it down, turned it into an inning-ending double play. I thought they might have had a chance to get back to the bases if they'd seen that ball in the air.
Yeah, I wonder if the 4-0 lead played in, and maybe they were thinking for the kill, the 6-0 lead, and go from there. But
or maybe matinee movie tickets are cheaper than
there you go
late night tickets.
Jose Altuve's 1 for 2 has the Astros' only hit of the afternoon, and a 1-1 count. Kind of science fair day with the kids out at the ballpark on this Thursday, and I think it's a kind of a routine as that ground ball is foul outside of the bag. Home plate umpire has the call on that play, Mark Carlson. Could be a real challenging call for a home plate umpire. I've never quite understood the need for that at the bag at third, but that is the rule. Who makes these rules? Who was the king of umpires that made that rule? Abner made that rule. So the home plate umpire, that ground ball to either bag, the home plate umpire takes over. Why?
Because the third base umpire said, I don't want it, you take it.
Yeah, it's the home plate umpire that's battling with the catcher and hitter, trying to get in a position to see where the ball is. Altuve looked like he was shooting the other way.
Let that ball get deep.
You know what Altuve does a lot like Cabrera, though, is he doesn't, when the ball does get deep, he doesn't get blown up. He still gets the barrel of the bat on it. With that base hit and the 2 at-bats, Altuve hitting .312. Outfield shading a bit toward right field.
Get a look at that previous pitch. You're talking about letting that ball get deep. Well, no, that was his base hit. I apologize.
Any way to announce that Altuve had a hit in his previous at bat, we're good with. 1-2. Boy, it's kind of a master craftsman out there on the hill.
It's pretty impressive stuff. When Altuve doesn't swing, that usually means it's a ball way out off the plate, or
yes.
he gets fooled so badly that he can't pull the trigger. That's how good a pitch that last one was.
Altuve has had a hitting streak this year as high as 11 games. And now a 3-2 count. One out here in the 6th inning. Price has walked just one. He's given up that one hit that we mentioned to Altuve. The lone walk came to George Springer in the 4th inning. The Astros had their only 2 base runners in that frame. But then Evan Gattis and Chris Carter struck out to end it. And there went the threat. And now Altuve down on strikes, and that's double digits for Price. 10 on the afternoon.
It's a season high for David Price now. 7th career start versus the Astros. 10+ Ks in 4 of them. Well, it's a perfect storm. A high strikeout pitcher and a team that likes to swing and miss.
Luis Valbuena at the plate has struck out in 2 at-bats. Shift on. Ian Kinsler playing on the outfield ground. Now that's actually...
Yeah, that's Nick Castellanos, the third baseman.
That's right.
They leave Andrew Romine on the left side of the infield.
Used to see the Blue Jays do this with Brett Laurie, the third baseman, would go and be the guy out in the outfield. Which the logic there was that Laurie was a minor league second baseman. One ball and no strikes. Valbuena hitting at .208. The batting average hasn't been at all where he'd like it this year. And again, the Craftsman added misses inside. Talk about Valbuena a little bit and maybe the defensive side of the game, what you've seen with him.
I think he's a great athlete. I had no idea. But he moves extremely well at third base, adapted well. He's got good, quick feet.
Takes a strike.
He's got the arm to do it.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. He's had sure hands. When he's gotten to a ball, he handles it, and then his throw is accurate.
Yeah. Young man taking advantage of an opportunity.
Three and one.
He's got a good energy for me too. I like him.
Sure, you've had the same experience, but I've had at least a couple of times where he's getting used to the new faces around him, and he comes up and he introduces himself as Valbuena and shakes your hand.
I like it.
And now 3 and 2. Never quite had that before, where a guy just walks up and says his last name and looks at you like, I don't have the faintest idea on earth who you are, but I'd like to meet you.
I know in somehow, some way we're affiliated with each other, but I am Valbuena. Luis Valbuena.
And in some cases, Valbueno.
He has been Valbueno.
The 3-2 from Price. Chopper is foul. Rich Dower, once upon a time a very gifted, not only defensive player, but with the bat.
Pretty good turnout for a Thursday day game.
Yeah, you're right. They love their Tigers here in Detroit and throughout the area.
I'm sure when the weather's good and they have a chance to come down to the ballpark, they're going to take full advantage of it.
It's been such a depressed economic area, but through it all, they just love their Tigers. Half swing going through Valbuena. That's 11 strikeouts for David Price as he strikes out the side in the 6th inning. 4-0 Tigers. Book your low fare right now at southwest.com. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. 4-0 Tigers. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Scott Feldman still on the hill. Shift on for Yoenis Cespedes, who's reached twice today. Has singled and walked, scored a run. He was aboard in the 4th inning with 2 outs as Nick Castellanos gave the Tigers the 2-0 lead with a home run left center field, and it was a pretty good cloud job. Strike called, 0-2 the count. And really it was Cespedes who got it going with 2 outs. He drew that walk, and that's to this point the only walk issued by Scott Feldman, but one he is probably very upset that happened. Count stays at 0-2. Bummer mentioned the nice crowd here today, and it is that. It's turned out to be a nice day. We've got some rain forecast to be coming in maybe late Sunday, and for a few days following that, so maybe the Astros get out of town before that hits.
They better.
1-2. Moving on to Baltimore, and will that rain chase in that direction?
Good chance.
What do you think of that list of names?
These guys are good.
Ernie Harwell, ladies and gentlemen, one of the great broadcasters of all time. Friend of Milo Hamilton. Cespedes with a 2-2 count, and the curveball hit down the left field side is foul. This guy adds some thump, some presence to this lineup for the Tigers. Started in the the Oakland A's, just reaches down and flips one into center field. So he's 2 for 2 and reaches for the 3rd time on the afternoon. He's aboard with nobody out for Nick Castellanos.
That was some kind of special. Took out the old 60-degree, just lobbed it out there into center field. That is impressive to go down there and get that one.
Have you ever used that 60-degree to that kind of perfection?
Nope.
Oh, I've seen you.
No.
Yes, I have seen you.
No, but I'm 1 for 50 with it.
Nick Castellanos grounded into a double play and then homered. For Castellanos, his 4th long ball on the year. And 19 RBIs. So he's been a producer in that direction. Joe Thatcher gets it loose, left-hander for the Astros. '93rd pitch of the day. Does Carter have a play? Plenty of room. He'll make the catch. 1 out here in the 6th inning. And I think you'd love to be able to get Feldman through this 6th inning. With 1 out, it brings up the 7-hitter Rajai Davis, 0 for 2 on the day. The real speed guys, Anthony Gose and Rajai Davis, and yes, very good speed for Ian Kinsler, but Rajai's the guy that's been kept off the bases here this afternoon. Backs away as that one's up and in. .268 the batting average for Davis. Cespedes not much of a threat to be running. 2 for 4 on the year in the running game. Feldman, we talked about the numbers, but there goes Cespedes. Throw down and not in time as the ball I believe hit right in the back of Cespedes, and now nobody can find the baseball. Where did it go? There it is.
Egg hunt.
Number 3 on the year for Cespedes. So just when you think you know that a guy may not be running, there he goes.
Good time to run. They've got guys with decent speed, and if you pick the right spot, they can take that bag. And with his own version of the hidden ball trick behind his shoe there.
Just the second stolen base on Feldman this year. Again, the breaking ball stays up and in. 2-1 the count. Still have not hit the real heat of the summer. And I think maybe for some pitchers, you don't start getting that feel of the baseball until it warms up real well. Feldman set, brings the 2-1, and now 3-1. As a player, how did you like this ballpark?
I liked it. It was a good place to hit. There was good batting eye. Just thinking about that, looking at these ballparks, I really didn't.
Gapper, left center field, on the move. Marisnik won't get there. Here comes a run to score as Cespedes is in on the double by Rajai Davis. 5-0 Tigers in front.
What I was going to say is I never really got a chance to admire how beautiful some of these ballparks are. This one pretty spacious, but this Tiger lineup is built for this spacious ballpark, both defensively and offensively, doing a good job of getting a hanging cutter out over the middle of the plate. Davis hit a line drive to center field. It was caught by Marisnik last time. Hits this one too far to his right. He's unable to get to it. Good piece of base running from Cespedes.
Double number 5 on the year for Rajai Davis, and he is certainly a threat to take off from second base with 1 out. 8-hitter James McCann at the plate is 1 for 2 on the day. Rajai Davis loves to run, and he's been a very successful base stealer throughout his career. And one of the opportunities that he loves to try to exploit is stealing third. Tigers on top 5-0, 1 out. I think it's a perfect scenario for Davis to try to pick one more run here in the inning.
Take a chance with that right-handed batter. Next pitch is number 100.
He bluffs at second base. I think he's just trying to time it, see if he can get it against Feldman. Tigers got 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th inning. They picked up 1 here in the 6th. Shot to right center field. There's Marisnik, and a second out of the inning. He'll try to double it up, won't get it done. The Astros with 3 double plays on the day.
Kids can join all the fun this season with the Coca-Cola Astros Buddies Club membership. Now available for only $20. Catch all the baseball plus get access to exclusive experiences and prizes throughout the season. Visit Astros.com/buddies to register for an Astros Buddy membership today.
So 2 down. That likely cuts down the need for Rajai Davis to be running, but that doesn't mean he won't run. Andrew Romine, the 9-hitter at the plate, is 0 for 2, has scored a run. The Astros have gotten up a right-hander in the pen. Could be Jake Buchanan.
You are correct.
There goes Rajai. He pumps the stats a bit as he picks up a stolen base. And for Rajai Davis, his 10th on the year and 11 tries.
Great jump. And you'll see pitchers, when they get a runner at second base, usually go back to that extended wind up a little bit. See the higher leg kick from Feldman. Stole that base easy.
Ground ball just foul at the bag at first. Now Rajay has never allowed lack of need to get in the way of a good stolen base. Nothing Tigers, and David Price sharp on the hill. Price through his 6 innings has struck out 11 Astros. Little fister popped in the air, shallow in left field. VR calling, and now called off by Colby Rasmus, who makes a bit of a circus catch, and that'll do it. Feldman gets through the 6th inning, but the Tigers add one more. 5-zip Detroit. And that says not happy. Colby Rasmus had to make quite a play there with VR calling initially. Check out this play.
See him calling it. That's in that no man's land, but pretty slick little move right there to sidestep and make the catch.
Body awareness and glove awareness. That was pretty good.
That was, wasn't it?
So we go to the 7th inning. George Springer leads it off. He has struck out and drawn a walk. That strikeout back in the 1st inning, he was caught looking. Had what appeared to us to be a very hittable pitch, but had some terrific swings in the 4th inning prior to drawing the walk. Has a 1-0 count, batting average at 194 for George. Now, we showed it earlier, but this is the site of the first major league home run of George Springer.
Again, he's taken a couple pitches to get himself in a hitter's count against a pitcher who's pretty aggressive with his fastball.
Ooh, what a swing. And shortly after that first major league home run, he got just red hot. He went through Seattle and Kansas City on a trip and tore up major league pitching. If you find yourself thinking, what's all the hype about? The talent has been displayed. Can he find it as he shoots one back up the middle? And that's not a bad first step, maybe. 1 for 2 on the day for George.
Well, if you're looking for signs of going in the right direction, the previous at bat where he walked after swinging at a couple good pitches, and then this one right here, taking a low fastball and just rocketing it back up the middle. Strike a little fear in a pitcher's heart.
Did you see David Price react to that?
Oh, yeah.
Miguel Cabrera pats George on the back. I imagine Miguel looks around and says, who are some of the guys with some great tools that just might be future big time stars? I would look at George Springer.
If you went on talent, some of the numbers he put up in the minor leagues, and that, like you were talking about, that 2 or 3 week stretch where he was tearing the cover off the ball, I'd say so.
I think in that stretch you referred to there, I think he was the dominant hitter in baseball at that point, and I think national folks were really starting to look at George Springer. Evan Gattis at the plate has popped up, or rather struck out twice.
And when George Springer was going that well, it wasn't, you know, he wasn't hooking every ball down the left field line. I mean, he was hitting rockets to center, right field, left center. It was amazing.
Well, he had one particular game in Kansas City that really stood out for me. I believe he hit one home run in the game, but he had 4 hits, if I'm not mistaken, and had the kind of swings on each one that could have just hit the ball forever. 2-1 now on Evan Gattis. But I think he's always worth talking about, because if George Springer can find it and then you insert that bat in the heart of this order, then you've got the legitimate chance to play championship baseball. Fly ball right center field in the gap. Nobody's getting there. This is going to go to the wall. Springer will glide home. First run of the day for the Astros. And digging for third, Evan Gattis. He will make it. RBI 3-bagger for Evan. And it's now a 5-1 ball game. And for Evan Gattis, his first triple of the year.
I'll give you an idea how big this ballpark is. That right center field gap, way out there in that 420 mark, allowing Gattis to get to third base standing up. But what a great piece of hitting. That's a tough fastball down and away. Puts his nose down on it, drives the barrel through it. Springer's going to score easy with the ball that far away from home plate. As you get a chance to look at the caveman get after it, hustle on out there to third base. You got to lead with the beard, Ash.
You got to lead with the beard when you run. Well, that's just the second career triple for the man leading with the beard.
Nice. Good time to get it. Inch back a little bit. How about the exploits of the Astros in the 7th inning or later? They just added another RBI or another hit to that entire situation of complex numbers that they keep putting up late in the ball game.
Tigers are #1 in the league in triples with 16, and that's probably a key reason why.
Yeah, the depth of those alleys, and then you add that speed that we keep talking about in that lineup, and those guys are going to start racking them up.
So the Astros with a chance to add at least one more here in the 7th inning, down 5-1. Chris Carter at the plate with nobody out. Carter has popped out and struck out. Again, 11 strikeouts for David Price on the afternoon. He's been really good. But a single by Springer, a triple by Gattis, and the Astros finally get on the board here in the 7th. And what is it about the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings as Carter pops one shallow into right? Rajai Davis will make the catch. Too shallow for Gattis to even consider scoring. And out #1.
Let's take a look at their numbers from the 6th inning on. That number on the left-hand side is 1 through 5, and that's a total of 135 innings. From the 6th inning on throughout the course of the season, it's been 102 innings. So in 102 innings, they've scored 83 runs, now 84. This was coming into the game tonight. Just incredible numbers. Just kind of feeling out the process of the game, get into that 6th inning, and all of a sudden turn it on. It's incredible.
Well, I would think the Astros have to feel like if they don't get 2 runs or more here in the inning, they probably failed to some degree. Shift on now. 3 infielders on the right side. A ground ball other than to the pitcher or third baseman is a run. Colby Rasmus 0 for 2 on the day. A little half swing as he fouls it back.
If he hits a ground ball to the umpire, it might be a double.
to the second base umpire.
Yeah, there's nobody out there. He's so lonely right here.
Yeah, I had this image of the home plate umpire taking the little ground ball. And
sorry. I gotta be...
Well, it's a defense right here that is basically saying you put it in play on the ground or the medium depth or more fly ball, and you got your run. But now an 0-2 count, and David Price, looking for his 12th strikeout of the day, makes life really tough.
Seems like the type of pitcher with the type of stuff where he could ignore what's going on behind him as far as shifting and just go attack hitters.
Why did they shift on Colby Rasmus? Well, for good reason. And Colby down on strikes, a costly second out. And now they're going to have to earn their way with that run at third base. Evan Gattis. 2 down here in the inning. 12 strikeouts for David Price. Jonathan Villar comes to the plate. Jonathan gets the start today. The right side of the plate for Jonathan would seem to be potentially a big strength. He's got plenty of power. Can he take advantage right here? Good swing. Is Jonathan bigger in your eyes than when we first saw him a couple of years ago?
Could be. I don't recall, to be honest with you.
I remember thinking of him at the time as a real burner. He was running the bases like mad.
Well, I thought he was just one of those wiry shortstops.
Ground ball back up the middle. The Astros are going to get that second run as that throw is thrown into the Astros dugout area. And now it's a 5-2 ball game. Astros trailing the Tigers. Infield single for Jonathan Villar, and it'll be an E6 on the play. So Villar moves into second base on the throwing error by Romine.
Probably wishing he didn't make that throw, knowing how well Villar runs. He did a great job of getting to that ball, but really no reason to let that throw go. But another opportunity for a 2-out RBI for the Astros.
RBI for Villar.
Great job by Villar, picking up that 2-out RBI, and picking up Rasmus and Carter.
Well, again, for me, it's a failed inning if you don't get at least 2 runs out of that frame. There's a hit into left center field. Villar with his speed scores easily, and don't look now, but here come the Stros. 5-3 Tigers on top. That base hit by Hank Conger, and for Hank, his 4th RBI. And now Brad Ausmus, the skip, coming out to the mound. It looks like the end of the line for David Price, but maybe just the beginning of things for the Astros this afternoon.
This ball club in late innings is unreal.
At first 6 innings for the Astros offensively, but putting 3 on the board here, and we've seen the Astros do this time and time again. Blummer saying it right before we took that break. AJ Hinch talking about it. today before the game, this team's never out of any games, he feels like, and he sees the team act that way as well, too. Every time they come into a game or every time they're down, they're encouraging each other. They never feel like they're out of it. Colin McHugh said it's great to be a starting pitcher for a club like this. No matter how you're doing on the mound, you know you have to battle for these guys, but you also know that there's a chance that the offense can come and help you out at any time. They're having a lot of fun as far as that goes, but we're seeing it again, guys.
Yeah, we are, and it's
amazing.
It's been really fun to watch. You'd love, yes, you want to keep winning, but you'd love to see some runs early as well, maybe a little more often. But here they are, right back in a ball game, 5-3 on Hill. Nesbitt now comes on to pitch for these Tigers. Pitched in yesterday's ball game for Detroit. They came back and finally took 1 out of 3 against the Brewers. Jake Marisnick hits it sharply, but on a hop right to Castellanos, who's drawn in. And that'll do it. One pitch from Nesbitt as the Tigers get out of the inning, but not before the Astros pick up 3. It's a 2-run game.
And it's the Detroit Tigers manager Brad Ausmus when he was with the Astros. Big 9th inning home run in that NLDS. Wasn't known for his pop, but that's a pretty big hit.
Could not have come at a larger time. You guys were in the dugout. Brad, were you that
I was
year?
not a part of that.
You're a big White Sox player at that time, but wow.
That series was amazing. The NLDS against the Braves?
Completely amazing. And the crowds in Houston as good as they come. Let's see. Brad, you know, an intelligent guy, and he knows exactly where to place balls.
All about location.
No reviews back in those days. The umpires got it right. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning, a 2-run game now. 5-3 Tigers on top. There's Brad. Guided the Tigers to their championship season last year. Did not get to the World Series, however. Joe Thatcher comes on to work to the top of the order. Anthony Gozzi and Kinsler and Miguel Cabrera. Fourteenth game, left-handers hitting .263 against Joe. Anthony goes 2 for 3 on his day. With the 2 hits, Ghost hitting .322. Thatcher recently went 11 days without pitching. Or 11 days between outings. Pitched a few days ago against Oakland and worked just a third of an inning in that game. So he's not an overworked pitcher right now. The 2-2. Got him swinging. Breaking ball stayed up and in. Goes down on strikes. One out for Ian Kinsler.
We all know about some of the funky deliveries coming out of that Astro bullpen. Neshek being one of them. Thatcher's another one. Really creating that crossfire. Get a good look at it. Back at you the whole time. Tough to pick up that ball until the last minute. Then it's coming out of that three-quarter delivery.
So just facing one hitter, Joe Thatcher, he is done. So for a second consecutive outing, just a third of an inning. As the Astros turn to the bullpen once again, Jake Buchanan has been summoned to face Ian Kinsler. 5-3 Tigers here in the 7th inning.
Join Orbit for a birthday celebration, alien style. Saturday, May 30th, Orbit and his mascot friends will host a birthday brunch. And on Sunday, May 31st, 10,000 fans will receive Orbit face glasses presented by the Smile Generation. For more info, visit astros.com/Orbit birthday or call 1-877-9-ASTROS. How old is Orbit?
Ageless, Julia.
In alien years? Or
yeah, that's what I wanted to know, in alien years, if you guys knew.
It could be 3 light years old.
Ooh, there's one to think about. Line shot on a hop hit by Kinsler. One pitch and out as Jake Buchanan comes on. He gets Kinsler 2 outs in the inning as Miguel Cabrera comes to the plate. And by the way, Gene Diaz lets us know 76 runs now scored by the Astros in the 7th inning or later in ball games this year. This is game number 42. That's a pretty good rate.
It's a real good rate.
Thank you, Gene. The Astros aren't out of this game, and it felt like they might be when David Price was sailing along 5-0. Detroit leading it, but 3 runs in the top of the 7th inning, and the Astros now right back in this thing.
Implementing the rope-a-dope to these American League teams, just kind of lull them to sleep after a while, and when they're not looking, just hit them a couple times, knock them down, and then put them away late in games.
Muhammad Ali thanks you.
Yeah.
Buchanan, 3rd pitcher of the afternoon for Houston. And Miguel Cabrera is 2 for 3 on the day. He's driven in a run. That a big one in his career. Has a 3-1 count.
What I appreciated about that RBI from Miguel Cabrera is he got down to first base You see a little bit of a fist pump, and he gave a pretty aggressive high five to Omar Vizquel down there. It tells you he still appreciates what he's doing in the game, which is great.
Sliders outside. 1,400 career RBIs for Miguel Cabrera as he draws the 2-out walk.
32 years old, Miguel Cabrera.
So Cabrera aboard for J.D. Martinez, the cleanup man. Martinez has hit into 2 double plays today, and in between struck out, so a tough 0 for 3 day. Trying to extend a hitting streak beyond the 11 games that he comes in with. Buchanan misses badly away, knocked down by Conger. And Conger had one of the big Houston hits in the 7th inning. With 2 outs, it looked like the Astros may just get 1 run in the inning. Evan Gattis had a triple to drive in George Springer to start the inning. He was at third base, but Carter flied to shallow right field. Colby Rasmus then struck out, and with 2 outs, Jonathan Villar and Hank Conger came up with hits, each one plating runs, and very big in this game. Shift on, 3 infielders on the left side. 2-1 the count on J.D. Martinez. Yeah, you're talking about Miguel Cabrera, Blummer, lifetime average at 320, on base percentage at 397. Strike is called. 2-2 the count. So you're talking almost 400 in the on base. OPS at 962 for his career. He's had 4 different seasons over 1,000 on the OPS.
You see how many home runs he's averaging on his career? 35 a year.
35 a year over the typical 162 game season.
That's amazing. So if he averages 35 homers until the end of his contract, which I think is in 2023, that's another 280 home runs.
Which is 680. And that's strike 3 called. Half swing. That does in J.D. Martinez. A couple of strikeouts in the inning. We have played 7. 5-3. The Tigers lead it.
It's 5-3 Tigers over the Astros as we go to the top of the 8th. Here's the pitch by pitch again, presented by your local steel dealer. So those hits in that last inning. We talked about the approach earlier in the game. These guys being a little more selective, laying off some pitches, but they're attacking that fastball down in the zone. And that might have been the thing, is to look for that fastball. And later in this game, David Price found a little bit more of the plate, and Astro hitters were up to it. Did a good job of dropping the barrel on it, getting 3 big runs there to come back in this ball game.
And now it's in the hands of the bullpen. Angel Nesbitt, 3rd pitcher of the afternoon, or make that 2nd pitcher for the Tigers. He got Jake Marisnick to end the 7th inning. Now to the 8th we go, top of the order. Jose Altuve, Luis Valbuena, and George Springer. So this would be the inning where you would figure the Astros are laying their hopes to get back at least even in this game. Altuve with a 1-hopper, but handled by Nesbitt. And there's the first out of the inning. Brad Osmus coming out once again. So 1 pitch for an out here in the 8th inning. Yeah, we'll see how Brad plays this. They've got a left-hander and a right-hander throwing in the pen for the Tigers. Blaine Hardy, the lefty. Jabba Chamberlain, the right-hander. And it is the left-hander Hardy coming on here to work it. Back to the mound, and now the left-hander Luis Valbuena coming to the plate. Brad Osmus responds with left-hander Blaine Hardy, 28-year-old left-hander for the Tigers, originally in the KC organization, eventually released and picked up by these Tigers and debuted last year in the big leagues.
Tough against lefties at .214 average against. Fastball, cutter, curveball, changeup.
Misses on his first offering, 1-0. Valbuena on the day, 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Has the count even at a ball and a strike. George Springer waits on deck. And the heart of the order is Brad Osmus going to allow the left-hander Hardy to stay on and face those guys. For the moment it would appear that way, although Jabba Chamberlain is still up and now gets back on the rubber. So it could be that Chamberlain's the guy to come on once Springer comes to the plate. Pitch is drilled into left field. That shift on and a wide open left side and a 1-out single.
I think Brad's actually had a luxury this year of finding guys in the right roles out of that bullpen.
So we're going to see Jabba Chamberlain come in as Brad comes out to the mound. He's already pointed to the pen. Hardy comes on, allows the base hit to Valbuena. He's aboard with 1 out. As the chess game continues here, 5-3 Tigers on top of the Astros. in the 8th inning. Jabba Chamberlain now comes on, his 14th appearance on the year.
He's got good stuff. He gets a little slider happy sometimes. Can give up the long ball. See, those averages against him are relatively high, and I think that's because guys are starting to key in on that slider a little bit. And if you throw too many of them, sometimes you have a tendency to leave one out over the plate a little bit. But rumor has it he's been getting back to pitching with that fastball. Good ERA, though, 1.69.
He'll face George Springer, who in the last couple of days is now starting to at least get some hits.
Hits are good. He's going the other way. You want to let the ball get deep, but I'm not sure that's your idea of getting
that's deep
to the kitchen a little bit. But maybe a sign that things are starting to turn around, because sometimes you need a couple of those little duck snorts to fall in and get your confidence going. See a little bit better number on the scoreboard for George, now hitting 200.
Nothing wrong with a filet mignon every now and then. George Springer is 1 for 2. He has walked and singled, scored run number 1 for the Astros, and that came in the 3-run 7th inning. Are the Astros back in that mode again? Springer takes a strike. Jabba Chamberlain, Blummer mentioned it, numbers are good. The ERA is terrific, and yet he's allowed 16 hits in 11 1/3 innings this year.
It's kind of crazy. Leave those guys stranded.
Now he's not walking guys, just 3 of them, but a whip well over the 1.5 mark. He's over 1.6 to be dead on the money. So he doesn't appear with some of the numbers to be the lockdown guy that I'm sure Brad Ausmus would love to have. Infield set up for the double play. Tigers have not turned one today. 1-1 the count on Springer. The Astros, on the other hand, have picked up 3 double plays on the day. 2 of those ground balls, and the other one in the 5th inning. A couple of runners aboard. They were on the move on the pitch on a drive hit by J.D. Martinez to right field. Nice play by Springer, and it resulted ultimately in a 9-4-3 double play. And now 2-1 the count. The catcher McCann goes out to the mound to talk with a veteran Chamberlain, now in his 9th year in the major leagues. He's had success. He's 25-20 overall. He had some impressive early years with the Yankees. Now in his 2nd year as a member of the Tigers.
He's had some arm issues along the way.
Springer takes a strike on the 2-1 delivery, and now it's 2-2.
Talked about how he's heavy on the slider. This looked like a pretty good pitch to hit.
That's kind of in, I would call that the happy hitting zone there. But now George has to go to work with 2 strikes on him. George hitting an even 200 as he stands in. Hits one down the right field side. That drops for a hit. His 2nd on the day, coming to third base, Valbuena, and he's going to score, as this is botched by Rajai Davis. And the Astros now are down by just a run, and with 1 out have Springer at third base. We'll see how this is ruled, but the Astros are just about right back in this game.
This is mind-boggling what they can do late in games. There's no give up in this team. Fastball, maybe a little bit off the plate, but protecting. That's a great job by George. Extending a little bit, not giving in, and putting it in the hands of the umpire. Go out there and put your bat on it and see what happens.
That, for me, is what you have to do. The talk about taking potential strikes or close pitches and taking your chances, I can't go there with 2 strikes. Just cannot do that. It's a double and an E9 that allows Valbuena to score and Springer to get to third base. And now the infield drawn in. Gaddis hits it on the ground right to shortstop. Romine freezes the runner and gets out number 2. And so that's a huge out for the moment. So that's no RBI for George Springer.
Infield in. You'd like to get a ball elevated if you're Evan Gaddis and try and drive something to the outfield. It wouldn't take much to get a guy like Springer home from third base.
Boy, does that out look big with Evan Gaddis Cleanup man at the plate. Tying run at third base. A game that saw the Astros down 5-0, and David Price just blowing through the game. Chris Carter now with that key at bat. Carter hitting 163. And an 0-2 count. Carter watching, and now is going to have to go to work. George Springer with the 2 hits now has the batting average at .206. And he is the only Astro on the day with a couple of hits. Evan Gattis cannot be happy after that one. Although it was Gattis with the triple driving in a run and scoring in the 7th inning. And that was huge to get the Astros clawing back in. Carter taps it foul. David Price worked 6 2/3 innings, allowing eventually 5 hits and 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 1 walk and 12 strikeouts. And an 0-2 count on Chris Carter. Line drive, but gloved at shortstop by Romine. Just a soft liner, and that'll do it as Gattis and Carter, the 4-5 hitters, make outs with Springer 90 feet away. We go to the bottom of the 8th, 5-4, Tigers on top.
Looking for games on certain days of the week with giveaways? Your favorite rivalries, or maybe a little of each? With the Astros 14-game flex plan, you get to pick the games and seat locations that work best for you. Purchase your 14-game flex plan today by visiting astros.com/tickets or calling 1-877-9-ASTROS.
Jake Buchanan, who got a couple of outs in the 7th inning, also walked a man. Starts it here in the 8th inning, facing the 5-hitter Yoenis Cespedes. Cespedes is 2 for 2, also has walked, scored a pair of runs, and he's going to be on for a 4th time as he gaps one left center field. Cespedes heads to second base, a leadoff 2-bagger, and here come the Tigers. A 1-run game for the Astros, now down and looking at a 9th inning, and they'd love to make sure they get into that 9th inning just 1 run behind.
Well, it's reminiscent of what Yoenis was doing in an A's uniform against these Houston Astros. Having himself a big day, reaching base 4 straight times. Good piece of hitting. Good hitter. Pitch down in the zone, just drives it in that left center field gap.
For Cespedes, that's his 15th double already this year.
Now, the home run numbers may not be big because he's playing at a much larger ballpark than he's used to, but still getting the gaps.
That's a lot of two-baggers already.
You sound impressed.
Well, that ties him with Kendry Morales of the Royals for the leadership in the American League, so I'm going to say yes, I am. Michael Brantley off to a good start with Cleveland. Very nice start. He has 14. Pitch in the dirt, moving to third now as Conger can't handle it. It'll be a wild pitch. Cespedes now 90 feet away, nobody out here in the 8th inning, and the Tigers trying to reclaim a little insurance at this point. Tough play for Conger.
My goodness, I didn't realize how high up that bounced. Not much he could do. That ball spiked by Jake Buchanan.
Infield draws in. Rajai Davis waits on deck. Nick Castellanos at the plate is 1 for 3. That one was huge. 2-run home run in the 4th inning. That was the first scoring of the day. With the infield in, they will freeze the runner at third base and a big first out. So Jake Buchanan gets the ground ball he needs. One out for Rajai Davis.
Good pitch. Jake Buchanan's got that good sinker, but see all three of the infielders on that left-hand side pitching right into that shift.
You have to be aware of the squeeze now. Rajai Davis, a guy who has done a lot of bunting for base hits. Infield drawn in, but that doesn't take away a true squeeze. Rajai swinging all the way, fouls it. Tigers with 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. It felt like a comfy lead for David Price, but the Astros have not made it a comfy day for the Tigers and their fans. 3 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, and that 8th inning had a man at third base, less than 2 outs. The Astros unable to get that tying run in, and now the Tigers trying to make them pay. Little looper. This should be a play or a chance for Carter. And what a play! A sliding effort, and Chris Carter, who has been playing a really nice first base, comes up with a big second out on this effort.
My goodness. Big man covering some ground. I was messing with him the other day back in Houston. I said, you know, game's tough. You're not going to get hits all the time, but at least you're going out there at first base and taking some away. Look at this right here. Pretty athletic and a big play in a big situation.
You know, when he went into that slide, he was still a little shy and then had to come with the upper body to make the play. That was something.
Not a natural first baseman. You got to remember that.
Starting to become that way.
Wow. 2
outs. James McCann, the catcher, at the plate. 1 for 3 on the day. Had a base hit in the 5th inning and scored a run. And now the Astros getting close to that point where they can be just a run down in the 9th inning. 33,193 on hand. Jeff Blum had that sized up way earlier in the game, but that's the official count.
I could sense it.
How you count the people in the upper tank above us, I'm just forever amazed, but nice work.
That's just a ballpark figure.
Oh, a ballpark figure. I got you. Oh, and there's some of the folks in that ballpark. 33,000 plus of them. A 1-1 count on James McCann. Jake Buchanan allowed the leadoff double and then threw a wild pitch. Had Cespedes at third base, nobody out. Infield drew in. Nick Castellanos grounded out to shortstop. Key first out. Rajai Davis pops out as Chris Carter makes a circus play. And now a 2-1 count on McCann. The 9-hitter Andrew Romine due up next. Jose Iglesias has been the regular shortstop, and he's off to a great start with the bat and defensively. The guy has apparently really played well at shortstop. 2-2 the count. Down on strikes. So Jake Buchanan and company get through the 8th inning. Tigers fail to get on the board. It's a 1-run game as we go to the 9th. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare right now at southwest.com. Five, 4 Tigers on top. We go to the 9th inning. And the Tigers go to their pen. The closer, Joakim Soria, comes in now to shut it down. And he has been dynamite in that endeavor this year. 12 for 12. Jose Iglesias takes over at shortstop. Andrew Romine moves from short to second base. So the Tigers have tried to tighten up the defense. I believe Romine may have moved to third base. Yes, Kinsler is still at second.
This is a tough setup to check that out. Soria's got great numbers. Changeup, curveball. Got a little bit of that velocity back on that fastball.
Colby Rasmus tries to start it against him. Shift on, wide open left side. I apologize. I might have had a little Cabbage Patch candy working there as we came back on air.
Cabbage Patch?
Man, was
I'm a big fan of the Sour Patch.
Sour Patch, that's what it is, yes. I
thought you were bragging about your dance moves doing the Cabbage Patch.
I was slurping it up real hard there. So my apologies. 0-2 the count on Colby. Rasmus 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Soria brings a close one. It's 1-2. Preston Tucker waits on deck for Houston. Rasmus in the 6th spot in the order, so that's VR spot due up next. The Astros looking for a big swing. Down on strikes, Rasmus, no, apparently getting a piece. So it's Rasmus, VR, and Conger due up in the inning. Again, Tucker with the bat. And the 1-2. Hit on the ground sharply, but with that shift on, it is Kinsler, the second baseman, making the play. Or is it? Let's see who. That is 5-3. So it's.
Can you really write 5-3?
Yeah.
because that was Romine on the shift. He's playing a shallow right field. And the way Osmus works his shifts, he leaves the shortstop in the shortstop position on that left side of the field, but brings the third baseman in that shallow right center field or shallow right field spot. Now he has a nice leisurely jog back to third base to his normal position.
Is that leisurely? Okay. So 5-3 on the putout. Out number 1. Jonathan Villar's spot is now taken by Preston Tucker, the pinch hitter here in the 9th inning. Joakim Soria misses low. Right fielder Rajai Davis playing very deep. And a 1-1 count. That strike zone loosen up a little bit there.
He's got that rookie strike zone. My goodness. I mean, you can expand, but that seemed a little egregious there.
I know you're joking, but I know you're serious at the same time, and it's true. 1-2 the count. If you play the game, you know what that means.
They're going to test you. Let's see what kind of character you're made out of and how you react.
1-2 the count. Soria from the stretch. And a 2-2 count. Preston Tucker has been very impressive since coming to the big leagues. And I think A.J. Hinch is facing just tough decisions every day as to who's going to make it into the lineup. Not so much where guys hit, but who's going to be in there. 2-2 hammered left field. Back at the wall. Watch it. Home run number 1 in the major leagues for Preston Tucker. And we are tied at 5. Oh, what a time for Preston.
Just went Oppo Taco at Comerica Field. That's saying something about the young kid's pop. Soria beat him with a couple fastballs earlier in the count, but this one he gets on top of and drives the other way. Saw him get a big game-tying hit out there in Anaheim for his first major league hit. Now he gets his first major league home run to tie up a game here in Detroit.
Wow. The Astros unable to get a potential second run across the plate in the 8th inning. Wound up trailing by a pair or 1 run at that point as the ground ball goes right side. Conger is retired and now 2 outs, but again we're tied at 5 in the 9th inning. Courtesy of that pinch hit opposite field. First major league home run for Preston Tucker.
Creates an even bigger issue now for A.J. Hinch that you were talking about, Ash.
Gets tougher and tougher, doesn't
it?
So you've got Preston Tucker, Colby Rasmus, Evan Gattis, Chris Carter, and kind of on and on. How do you slot them every day? I shouldn't even say how do you slot them. Who makes the lineup?
There is such good young talent here. These guys are not intimidated by any situation they're being put into.
Well, I've just seen enough from Preston Tucker that I'm bought in. I'm all in right now. Ground ball on the check swing. That'll do it. But the Astros get the run. Preston Tucker is the man. 5-5 through 8.5. from a 5-0 deficit. And now all even in the 9th inning. Josh Fields comes on, pitcher number 4 on the day for Houston.
Get a good look at Josh, see his numbers on the year. Doing a pretty good job. 15 strikeouts in 9 innings. It's a beautiful thing. Pitched quite well on that homestand. Help out that offense it was putting up. Good numbers.
Now, Josh Fields certainly has late inning stuff. There's Marwin Gonzalez now on defensively. He's at shortstop. Tyler Collins now is the pinch hitter for the Tigers as they started. This is the 9 spot in the order. So Collins takes over as the pinch hitter, hitting .333, and the shift is on. 3 infielders on the right side. So again, that's Marwin Gonzalez at shortstop as the pitch is fouled back. Both managers going after it here this afternoon.
Seen some good offense, seen some great pitching. Now you're seeing a little bit of a chess match going on. Some of the player personnel moves. Are you kidding me with the Astros, by the way?
Well, you're seeing it again.
Wow.
3 days since Fields has been in a ball game. So he should be ready to bring some of the serious gas. There he is at 95.
It's all in a day's work for Preston Tucker, hanging out, telling everybody that's left in the dugout how you do it. Just go up there, swing through a couple fastballs, set them up, and then drive one out of the park. And then shut it down.
How about that? You're waiting for that first major league home run. You've already been impressing with the doubles down the right field side, down the left field side, all the stuff. And that first home run comes against a guy who hasn't blown a save all season, and you slam it to left field at Tiger Stadium.
In this place. It's a good sign of things to come.
Think he feels all right about now?
Yeah. Just a little bit.
But has he earned a chance to play every day in this Astros lineup? Collins with a swing and a foul tip, hung on to by Conger, and that's out number 1 here in the 9th inning.
Time now for the Whataburger, what a play, and it's the guy we were just talking about. Swung through a couple of fastballs, but makes the adjustment, lets that ball travel and get deep. Drives it on the barrel. And he knew he got a hold of that one. First major league home run for Preston Tucker. Ties this ball game up. Kind of interesting, we saw earlier in the game, George Springer's highlight of his first major league home run was opposite field here at Tiger Stadium also.
Pitch fouled off by the leadoff man, Anthony Gose. 2 for 4 on the day.
I don't know. It brings up an interesting question about where do you put Preston Tucker in that lineup? I would start trying to find some guys that days off every now and then. Put that bat in the lineup.
Well, it was happening on the homestand. Quite honestly, Tucker was getting in there, but what's happening right now is the Astros have some guys that really deserve to play, but there are more than 9 of them. And
yep.
And there's a pile up in left field. And that's probably primarily where this decision who's going to play today is coming up. And you could make the lineup however you want, probably, but who's going to be in there?
Yeah, that's the issue. But I mean, as much fun as it is for AJ to be able to make those decisions, it's a tough one at the same time because you don't want to, cool these guys off. You want to create situations and keep putting them in spots to succeed and to get enough at bats to keep their timing. Yet, guys you take out of the lineup, you don't want to discourage too much. You want to be able to have them get their feet back under them. But it's going to be tough at some point to hold down some of these young kids and the talent they have.
I think you said it right there. You don't want to cool guys off by sitting them while somebody else gets their deserved chance to get in there. Yeah. You know, and Preston Tucker had been just sailing along, looking like a real contributor, and then you try to be fair to Colby Rasmus or whoever it may be, and you sit Tucker for a couple of days, and he steps right back in and slams a home run. One and two the count. Off speed evens the count. And that's exactly what it had been. The 19th was the last game that Preston Tucker got in. That's a couple of days ago. And in that game he went 0 for 3, snapped a 5-game hitting streak. 4-game hitting streak, excuse me. Got 7 hits in that stretch of 4 games. And now 3 and 2. Fields does not want to lose Anthony Gose.
It was the first pinch hit home run by an Astro in 2 years. How about that? But can you name the last guy to get a pinch hit home run for the Astros?
Only because I was just told by a little birdie as the shot hits Fields and they're not going to get him. And Fields is hurting.
That's not good. Hopefully they caught some meat and just kind of gave him a dead leg.
A 1-out single by Anthony Gose, his 3rd hit of the afternoon. A lot of speed aboard, but right now the pressing issue is Fields.
Oh, smoked.
Well, they're going to look him over. A.J. Hinch right there with him. And that's not a guy who is just kind of feeling sore for the moment.
Man, right, hopefully on the back of that thigh, maybe in the hamstring. Yeah. If it's anywhere near that knee, just swelling could create some serious issues.
Took a couple of steps coming off the mound. Looked like he might be okay, but with each step it got worse and worse. And how does A.J. Hinch play this? Brent Strom has been given the word, and that's going to be the end for Josh Fields. So he is done. He faces 2 hitters here in the 9th inning. And someone will have to be summoned from the bullpen, and they will get all the time they need to get loose here in the 9th inning. But not only not ideal for Josh Fields and the Astros in that sense, but also in the sense that a lot of speed at first base now with 1 out for the Tigers in the 9th inning. Will Harris, who has pitched so well, comes in from the pen. Leadoff man, Collins, the pinch hitter here in the 9th inning, strike out against Josh Fields. The 2nd hitter that Fields faced, Anthony Gose, hit a line drive, caught Fields in the leg, and Fields had to be removed from the game. Saw Preston Tucker there in the dugout, tied the game with a pinch hit home run opposite field, and now Will Harris comes on to work it, 1 out and a man aboard here in the 9th.
What a season this kid's having. Throws hard, made the team out of spring, got that great cutter, nasty hammer. But amongst AL relievers, he's got the 3rd lowest ERA with that .47, allowing that 1 big run all season.
20 innings, allowing 6 hits and 1 run. It was earned. Came on a home run. And that's been it.
Opponent's batting average against Will Harris, sub 100 at .092.
So he gets all the warm-up tosses he needs with that injury removing Josh Fields. Apparently Harris is close. He says 2 more. When he's ready, he will face the 2 spot. That's Ian Kinsler, who has a hit and an RBI in 4 at-bats on the day. But a pressing issue is going to be Anthony Gose at first base.
Yeah, it's a good chance we're going to get to see some of that speed on the base paths. Good time for him to take a bag.
And of course, implied in everything we talk about with Will Harris, that 26 consecutive game scoreless streak he strung together between last year and the start of this season. It's no longer in force for him, but he has been brilliant. But now he's got his work cut out for him. 5-5 game. Kinsler at the plate. Anthony Gose aboard, held on by Carter. And he's driven back to the bag. George Springer in right field, being moved to his left and back a bit. Gose does not go as the pitch is a strike, and Kinsler likely taking for the benefit of Anthony Gose.
I think you're right. Smart hitting. You also have to have a cooperative hitter up there, taking a couple pitches, allowing you enough time to get down to second base.
0-1 the count, and another throw to first. Tigers start the day hitting .278 as a club, second best in the league, trailing only Kansas City. The Tigers are not that home run hitting club anymore, at least for the moment. They are a team that runs well, and that's a big issue now, as it's 0-2 on Kinsler, taking again.
Will Harris with that exaggerated over-the-top delivery.
And again, Gose does not go. Nice job by Conger.
It was.
And Conger had a big hit in the ball game that plated a run that came in the 7th inning.
I think Astro catchers are well aware when Will Harris goes to the breaking ball, there's a good chance it's going to be in the dirt.
One and 2 the count. There goes Gose. No, he bluffed as Kinsler swings through it, down on strikes. Kinsler glanced down toward first base. One of those at bats where I get the feeling that Kinsler took a couple of strikes. I think you agreed to accommodate Anthony Gose to run, and it didn't happen. And so apparently Harris doing something that did not enable Gose to be on the move. So 2 outs. It brings up Miguel Cabrera. Do you run with Cabrera at the plate?
Oof. He can drive you in from first base, that's for sure. He's done it about 400 times on his career with a home run. Not to mention the numerous doubles he has. With Gose's speed, if you find a gap out here at Comerica, he's going to score easy.
And if you do run, do you potentially mess up a guy like Cabrera at the plate?
No, if you run, you get to second and you make it to second base. What you do is you create an intentional walk situation with first base open.
There you go.
Put J.D. Martinez back up at the plate.
Of course, Martinez has been the hot hitter with an 11-game hitting streak, but he's 0 for 4 on the day. Cabrera's 2 for 3, has also walked, and now sees an 0-2 count. Wow. There's that cut fastball you were talking about.
And that is late cut, too.
It's almost like sailing action. 0-2 the count. Tigers with 12 hits on the day. And that's what they're going to go to extra innings with, as Cabrera is down on strikes. 3 strikeouts in the inning for Astros pitching. So extra innings we go. 5-5 tie. Oh boy, this is a tough one. Jack Link's beef jerky. Feed your wild side.
You did that just for me.
I did. I want to go plural where it's singular and singular where it's plural. What have we seen today, Blummer?
We've seen a big 6th inning. It was all David Price all early on. But in that 6th inning, Springer gets on base, and then Gaddis with that big RBI triple. And after a couple of outs, they get in that 2-out situation. Villar does a good job getting on base. A couple of 2-out knocks, driving in those runs. Springer with another base hit. 2-strike count. Nudges that one the other way. Finds its way to the wall. And then the big hit of the night off the bat of youngster Preston Tucker, making his presence felt here in the big leagues with his first major league home run to tie this ball game up.
Tigers go to the bullpen once again as they bring on the right-hander Wilson to work it here in the 10th inning. He faces the top of the order. Jose Altuve is 1 for 4 on the day with a strikeout. Pops one up on the right side. Is it playable? No, it is not. On top of the Astros dugout. A 1-1 count on Jose. There's Alex Wilson. Tigers 2 runs in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, 5-0. David Price sailing. Looked like it was going to be easy, but there came the Astros late in the game. 3 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. And the Astros to scratch and claw their way to a leadoff road trip victory here. Jose pops it up, back of second, shallow in center. Anthony goes jogging under. Out number 1 in the 10th.
The most shocking line on that game summary was the no runs and 1 hit through 6 innings, and here we are tied 5-5 in the 10th.
Out of Texas A&M. Couple of saves in the big leagues. He's got that first big man, HOU AT DET, and now Luis Valbuena comes to the plate. He takes a strike. Valbuena with that 8th inning hit, scored run number 4. Well, the Astros had a golden chance in that inning. They had Evan Gabb make that George Springer at third base with 1 out, couldn't get him home. That would have tied it then and would have enabled Preston Tucker potentially to have his home run, put the Astros in the lead. It wasn't to be, but the Tigers had the same scenario in their half of the 8th inning. They had a man at third base and nobody out and couldn't get him home. Castellanos, Davis, and McCann all making outs as Valbuena fouls it back. 2-2 the count. So each team with opportunities, each team failing in those opportunities depicted, but the Astros did not fail in the last 3 innings. 5 runs from the 7th inning on here this afternoon. Luis pops it up, towering out near the mound, and now called off is the pitcher as the catch is made by Kinsler. That's 2 down here in the 10th. Hernan Perez is now the third baseman defensively for the Tigers. They have had Castellanos, Romine, and Perez. And now George Springer hits in his last 2 at-bats. He's reached his last 3 plate appearances, a walk, a single, and a double. And takes the strike at the knees.
Ooh. Bottom fell out of that pitch. I'd like to see Wilson make a mistake to Big George right here.
And another strike. 0-2 the count.
Instead, he's thrown 2 filthy pitches to get ahead. 0-2. Just tip your cap on that one. Got 1 strike left.
Wilson with the 0-2 and got him. Slider further off the plate. Springer down on strikes. A 1-2-3 10th inning. So the Tigers come to the plate in extras. Still tied at 5. And Tigers tied at 5 as we go to the bottom of the 10th inning. 4, 5, 6 coming up for Detroit. Been a very intriguing game, one that felt like it was all Tigers to begin with, and then the Astros took over, and now we're in extras.
Yeah, it was all Mr. Price early on. 12 strikeouts. Had himself a pretty good day.
Yeah, he was strong. He was strong, but Preston Tucker might have been stronger. Although he didn't hit the home run as a pinch hitter against David Price, he did step in the 8th inning. Was that the 8th inning? Was that the 9th inning? That was the ninth inning. 1 out. Preston Tucker comes up as a pinch hitter for Jonathan Villar and launches one to left field. Young man has shown us he can do just about everything with a bat in his hands. JD Martinez leads off 0 for 4, a couple of strikeouts, twice has hit into a double play, and again has that 11-game hitting streak on the line.
If you want more encouraging numbers on the Astros, they're 3-0 in extra inning games this year. Tigers are 2-1.
Ground ball up the middle, but with the shift on Altuve right there. So the shift pays off. Out number 1 here in the 10th inning, as Will Harris is still on the hill. And by the way, if you're just checking in, Josh Fields was hit by a line drive on the leg and had to leave the ball game. So it hasn't gone without incidents for the Astros today.
Yeah, hopefully that's just a bruise. It'll take some icing and he'll be back in action pretty soon. But it got him pretty good.
For the Astros on the mound, it's been Feldman, Thatcher, Buchanan, Fields, and Harris. And trying to hang in here. Again, the Astros start the day with the best record in the American League. Only the St. Louis Cardinals, at a half game in front of Houston, better around the major leagues. So that's how good the first quarter of the season has been for Houston. Yoenis Cespedes has reached all 4 plate appearances. 2 singles and a double. He's also drawn a walk and now has the batting average up to 300 on the season. One of the now growing numbers of Cuban players that's been so good.
Ooh.
It's that high strike zone area.
We've seen a couple of them called today, and then we haven't.
That's in the strike zone. When is that going to become the consistent called strike? And the walk. So Cespedes continues perfect today. Second walk. He's aboard with 1 out. And this is Jose Iglesias, his first plate appearance on the day. He came on defensively in the 9th.
There's something mechanically going on with Will Harris, because looked great up until that at bat against Yoenis. A couple of pitches up in the zone. I'm sure Brent Strom's going out there to try and correct him a little bit, settle him down. He's only thrown 14 pitches, 2 strikeouts. Just uncharacteristic to see him throwing the ball that elevated in the zone, even though he did throw a strike and didn't get credit for it.
Brent Strom has his say. How important is today's game for the Astros, for example, starting a 7-game road trip and 4 in Detroit?
I just think the first game of every series is pretty important. It doesn't really put your back up against the wall, and these 4-game series are kind of funky to me because you can end up with a tie, 2 wins, 2 losses in the series. But I think establishing yourself and beating a guy like David Price to start the series could make a statement.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that as a club, you've got to recognize the fact that if you do win against David Price and the Tigers, that you beat a guy that maybe a lot of people expected would beat you. I think it's an increasing factor, the confidence for the Astros now as this season is starting to wear on. And how much better does confidence make a club?
Makes a world of difference.
Ball and a strike, 1 out here in the 10th. Rajai Davis waits on deck. Cespedes has stolen a bag today, has 3 on the year. There's a high chopper to shortstop. They'll get 1. Altuve tries to turn it, can't get it done. too much speed from Iglesias, so he's aboard on the fielder's choice. 2 outs now for Rajai Davis.
Heck of an effort by Marwin Gonzalez, though. Colossal chopper out there to shortstop. Does a good job of charging it and giving Altuve a good enough feed to actually attempt the turn.
Marwin's been Mr. Steady, and he can play all around the infield. Rajai Davis 1 for 4, has a double. That was his 5th on the year. Also drove in a run with that double and then stole it back.
All these moves going on in this game, now tied in extra innings. Tigers only have 1 position player left. Their catcher, backup catcher, Brian Holiday.
Marwin Gonzalez and Preston Tucker have been used by the Astros. That should leave 1 bench player. That's Jason Castro.
So both backup catchers, the only ones left.
That's it. Iglesias goes. The pitch is fouled down the right field side, so the Tigers with 2 outs try to implement the running game.
Good time to do it. Iglesias, if he's safe, you got a runner in scoring position. If he's out, you got Rajai Davis leading off the next inning.
Iglesias, like Cespedes, one of the Cuban players, and you saw his reaction with Jose Altuve. Altuve probably already a hero amongst the Latin players. Ground ball up the middle. Altuve makes the play and goes to the bag, and that'll do it here in the 10th inning. Tigers leave a man with the walk. To the 11th we go in a 5-5 tie. Jack Link's beef jerky. Feed your wild side. 1 for 2 on the day.
Hey, yeah, hit 500. That's good.
We go to the 11th inning, a 5-5 tie. It's just the first game on this 7-game road trip.
Take a look back at Evan Gattis's 2nd career triple. Drink it in, folks. He's motoring.
Evan Gattis will lead it off here in the 11th inning. That triple, his 1 hit of the day. He's 1 for 4. And it was a big one. It drove in a run, and he scored a run. The second of the Astros' 3 runs that came in the 7th inning. Jonathan Villar and Hank Conger each had 2-out hits that drove in runs. So that was a big frame that got the Astros back in the game. They added one in the 8th inning, had a shot to add another. And then one more in the 9th inning. That tied it with 1 out. Pinch hitting Preston Tucker slammed one to left field, first major league home run. And that's why we're here in extra innings. 12 hits for the Tigers, 8 for Houston. Tigers have committed a couple of errors on the day. The Astros one of their own. One and two the count on Evan Gattis, hitting .197, chops one foul. It's Gattis, Carter, and Rasmus here in the 11th.
Got your thumpers up at the dish. One pitch around Evan Gattis's neck, and he could put the Astros in the lead.
For the Tigers on the mound today, it's been Price, Nesbitt, Hardy, Chamberlain, Soria, and now Wilson. David Price looked like he was going to sail to victory today. 12 strikeouts through 6 2/3. Fly ball hit deep to center field. Anthony goes on the move and makes the play.
That's exactly why that kid is out there. Deep ballpark here at Comerica, 420 to center. Let's take a look at the ballpark bio for Comerica Park here in Detroit, Michigan. Established in 2000. Some large dimensions. Right field, you see juts out there around 365 to that deep part of the ballpark at 420 in center, and that's what it looks like if you put Minute Maid Parks right there in the middle of that right field. Pretty darn similar. Minute Maid a little bit deeper in center field.
Chris Carter hits one in the air, right center field. Rajay now moving in toward the gap and makes the play. 2 outs on fly balls here in the 8th inning. Gattis and Carter retired, and now Colby Rasmus comes to the plate. Been a long day for Colby with the bat. 0 for 4. He has struck out a couple of times. One big swing could be the difference. Wilson with a strike. 0-1 the count. 92 miles an hour. See the defense, and the Tigers have used that time and time again today. Ball and a strike. Colby with 8 big home runs on the year. His batting average at .238. And he drills one down the right field side toward the corner. This one is in as a fair ball. It'll be a ground rule double. And so Colby Rasmus in scoring position now. 2 outs as Marwin Gonzalez will have his first plate appearance. So Colby gets his first knock of the day. Hit number 9 for the Astros.
Ooh, it's close. Salvage the day right there with a double. Good job of getting himself in a scoring position with 2 outs. Another big 2-out RBI would be fantastic for the Astros.
Double number 9 on the year for Colby Rasmus. Jonathan VR started in this 7th spot on the day and wound up 1 for 3, driving in a run, scoring a run. Then came Preston Tucker. And Preston tied a 5-4 game with an opposite field home run, first in the major leagues. A moment he will not soon forget. Marwin Gonzalez took over in that spot defensively.
Astros 2 for 8 on the day with runners in scoring position. Tigers 3 for 11.
Crowd has thinned out here. The 0-1. And now 0-2 on Marwin. Marwin hitting .241. A couple of home runs on the year. 10 RBIs. Can he add to that total? Hasn't had a lot of lifetime success against the Tigers. 172 the batting average. That in 11 previous games. Marwin was 2 for 4 yesterday. Scored a run, had a double in that one. Stay hot. But down on strikes, and that'll do it in the top of the 11th inning. Colby Rasmus with a 2-out double as he's stranded. 5-5. It's the first of 4 here in Detroit. And Tony Sipp now comes on to work it for the Astros from the hill. Feldman, Thatcher, Buchanan, Fields, and Harris have preceded. So Tony Sipp now with the assignment.
Look at Tony's numbers on the year. Pretty darn good. That Astros bullpen's been quite nice. Sipp tough on those lefties at a 161 average against him. He pitched yesterday, you know, against Oakland, going 2/3 of an inning. Got 2 strikeouts. Got his 6th hold of the season.
If you're wondering, the Astros bullpen still has Pat Neshek, Luke Gregerson, and Chad Qualls.
You want to hear something interesting, Ash?
I would love that.
The Detroit Tigers have had a base runner in every inning.
Yeah, my score sheet would confirm that. And my score sheet seldom confirms anything.
Well, today's our lucky day.
Other than chaos.
Well, it's becoming chaos because I'm running out of columns on my score sheet here.
We're both getting to that point. 8, 9, and 1 coming up for the Tigers. James McCann. He is the 8 hitter and the catcher. 1 for 4 on the day. Had a 5th inning single and scored a run. And so Tony Sipp set to work it here in the 11th. And we mentioned on the Astros bench, Jason Castro, the only survivor now.
Nothing but backup catchers left on both sides.
Holiday for the Tigers. 0-2 the count. Now with the Tigers starting the day trailing Kansas City by 2.5. You know, for Detroit and their fans, it's a big game, but for the Astros, I think it's that constant affirmation about how good this club is. High drive left field. Watch this one at the wall. Colby leaps, can't make it, and the Tigers have won it in extras. Home run by James McCann. And the Tigers come out victorious 6-5. McCann with his second dinger of the year. So the Tigers pick up the first game of this 4-game series. And they will enjoy the rest of the afternoon and evening. The Astros, on the other hand, will have to remember it's just one loss and move along. The Astros did get that big swing out of Preston Tucker here this afternoon, but the Tigers 6-5 winners over the Astros.